Christ's sake. Ah. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Whoa, hold on. And why does it say I'm reviewing the Dragon Prince again? I changed that title. What the hell? Excuse me. And it still says that I'm offline. Why does it say that if we're streaming right now? Oy. Man, I knew how to do this before. I used to live stream all the time on the other channel. I had it down to a science, and now suddenly they go and change it, and now I have no idea how to do this anymore. Witcher. 1 second. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew it. For God's sake. I don't know why this happened. Christ's sake. Man, I'm gonna have to figure this shit out at some point. This is embarrassing. It still says I'm offline. Yeah, I'm using OBS. So, damn, I really thought I had this right. Mother of God. I gotta make this so damn complicated. Alright, screw it. You know what? I'll just fix the title later. Sorry. Just wanted it to have my normal face on there. I don't know why that's not a thing. Alright, I'll have to work on this. Sorry about that. Anywho. Alright. Welcome to the end of the year live stream. Despite the title of this video, I tried to change that. I couldn't figure it out because I don't know how to use OBS. But despite the title, we are not talking about the Dragon Prince Season 3. That was a while ago. We'll be talking about The Witcher today and a bunch of other things. I had a thumbnail for the reaching 27,000 subscribers milestone. That was going to be the thumbnail. I tried to put it in there, but it wouldn't let me for some reason. But hold on. I for God's sake. Screw it. All right, yeah, we're going to talk about The Witcher. This was going to have its own video, like a normal review, but then a couple real-life things happened to me all at once, and it kind of put the kibosh on that. I was sitting down to write the review, and then all of a sudden I hear this noise coming from the closet, and it's my water heater that's leaking. And it's a pretty bad leak, too. Water all over the floor already. So I call the maintenance guy, and he has it's the middle of the night, so he has no idea when he'll get there. So I'm waiting for about an hour for this guy to show up. And in the meantime, my kitchen is basically flooded. And so he finally shows up. Takes him another hour to get the leak stopped. And he can't fix it. He had to turn the water off in the whole complex. So that was a thing for a while. So I think there's going to be a rush job on that, but there isn't. So basically, they turn the water on. They get the leak fixed. So I have cold water, but not hot water. So the hot water heater has got to be replaced. So I'm waiting all day the next day for the guys to show up and fix it, and then replace it, rather. So finally they show up. It takes them way longer than the other guys said it would. So that's right there. I pretty much killed an entire day getting all that taken care of. So finally, I decided to go to Walmart to fix the stuff that got ruined by the leak. So I go out to my car, and I discover, to my horror, I have 2 flat tires. Yay! So I put air in the lesser damaged tire. I changed the other one. I have to go to the shop to show them that tire. Hopefully they can fix it. Thankfully they can fix it. It's a pretty easy job. And then I go home. I change the other tire. And then I go back to the shop. I give them the other damaged tire. They fixed that one. So that was another day. That was a lot of fun. So all told, after I've gone to Walmart to replace all my ruined stuff, all told, I've lost about 3 days. So by that point, I figured no one was going to care about a Witcher review anymore, because I figured I was too late. Then, like 2 days later, Angry Joe does his review of The Witcher, and it gets tons of views. Okay, my bad. Anyway, we could talk about The Witcher in a little. We could talk about The Witcher, and FYI, my dishwasher is also broken now, and I've been waiting since yesterday for the repair guy to show up. And I will bet you guys $10 that he shows up at some point during this live stream when I need quiet, because I was free all day. He could have shown up all day; it would have been fine. Never saw him. Now I'm actually doing something and I need quiet. I'll bet you anything he's going to show up while I'm doing this. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, first off the bat, I guess I just want to thank everybody, because 2019, pretty big year. This was the year that my channel went from nothing to 27,000 subscribers, which is more than I ever expected. We had that big boom to start the year off. Then things kind of cooled down for a while, and I was still struggling to meet the AdSense requirements every month, and usually not managing it. And then we had the other boom when the Batwoman reviews started up, and now for the last 2 months, I've been able to the AdSense check has been enough to pay my rent for the last 2 months. Never happened before, and this is further along. This is more progress than I ever expected the channel to make. First, I was just astonished that I was able to gain enough progress to be monetized, and then magically we hit like 10,000 pretty quickly, and then eventually I set the goal of maybe I can get 20,000 by the end of the year, thinking it was a pipe dream. I thought there's no way in hell I can hit 20,000, but we'll see. We'll be optimistic, and we'll just shoot for it and see what happens. Well, then we hit 25,000, and now we're at 27. I still can't believe it. I don't know how it happened, but I'm very thankful to everybody. I'm very thankful to all you guys showing up here, despite the confusing title of this video right now. I'll have to change that afterward. But yeah, just thank you, because the ultimate goal when I started this was to be able to make enough money with the channel to be able to call it my job and to be able to live off it. And I'm still not there, but I'm losing a lot less money than I was just a few months ago, because now I can cover my rent with it, and that's awesome. So so thank you, everybody. And so, do you guys want to talk about The Witcher right now, or do you want to do like a question? Yeah, let's talk about The Witcher right now. And notes here. Okay. Sorry, I got some water here. After the Crisis Part 2 review, I kind of lost my voice for a while. And it's still a little off, actually. So I've been trying to go easy on it. But yeah, so if I sound a little weird, that's why. Alright, let's minimize that. Okay. Anyway. So, The Witcher. I think it came out just a little over a week. Was it a week ago or was it 2 weeks ago? I don't know. One of those. All right. Okay, so visually the show looks pretty good, barring the cheapness of some of the props. A CG dragon that looks like they ran out of money before they finished rendering it, and some bad editing at times. The editing especially stood out to me. There are some pretty jarring cuts in there, actually. And there was this one scene in particular, in one of the later episodes, where it's a dimly lit scene. I think it's at the magic school in that eel pool room. Yeah, it's very dimly lit. And they're cutting from one shot to another. But in between these two shots, I swear, there were a few frames of something very bright that somehow wound up in there by accident. I couldn't make out what it was, but it's definitely in there, and I'm kind of shocked that nobody on the show noticed this. And also, there's some awkward cuts and edits in there throughout the whole show, so yeah, get a new editor in Season 2, because that was a weak spot. Action scenes vary in quality, in my opinion, but the swordplay is excellent. Henry Cavill really devoted himself to that, and he's terrific at that stuff. So, I mean, and there's a sword fight in the first episode where he's fighting multiple opponents, and it's one big uninterrupted take, and it's great. You know, at first I didn't care for the way it was shot. It seemed a little too stylized for me. But then I watched some of the clips from the games, and I realized that it was done that way to ape the way fight scenes are shot in the cutscenes in the video games. So even though it's not to my taste, I can definitely appreciate how they were trying to pay homage to the source material. And then I watched a little more, and I saw how other moments from the show were done to directly mimic images from the games. And it's not something that non-fans like me would normally pick up on, but fans of this franchise are probably going to love that stuff. And what that says to me is that the producers really care about this and want to do the source material justice. Take note, Kathleen Kennedy. So even though the show apparently is not adapting the games directly, like the story-wise, at least it does know its audience, and I can appreciate that. But it turns out to be a double-edged sword, though, because the show is very much aimed at people who are at least somewhat familiar with the games and the books. If you're not, like me, you're gonna be confused at first, because one of the show's big problems is that it doesn't explain things very well. You know, there's a ton of exposition right off the bat where they spend a lot of time, multiple scenes, talking about various people and places and things happening off screen. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I don't know if any of this is important. I'm not even sure what the hell a Witcher is yet. And frankly, I'm still not. And the confusion doesn't end there, unfortunately, because the lack of solid explanations for things are piled on top of a really bizarre timeline that you don't even know is bizarre until like the 4th episode, where they reveal from out of nowhere that Geralt's story has been a flashback this whole time. It actually took me a while to figure out what they were doing. The way it works is there are 3 lead characters. You've got Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri. Each one is on their own separate story, but each story takes place at a different point in the timeline. Ciri is in the present, and her story passes normally for the most part, so when you're following her, something like a few weeks to a few months pass over the course of the season. But then you've got Geralt and Yennefer's stories, and they both take place in the past, but they're each at different points in the past, and different amounts of time are passing for each one. So Geralt is maybe 12 or 13 years in the past, I think, but Yennefer is something like 50 to 80 years in the past. And it's really hard to judge how much time is passing, because Geralt ages very slowly due to being a Witcher. But other characters in his supporting cast age very inconsistently. You know, there's this bard guy whose name I can't remember, and he tags along with Geralt for a while, and he doesn't seem to age at all. And neither does this warrior queen lady who is Ciri's grandmother, but she doesn't look a day older than when we saw her at middle-aged at most, but then there's this sorcerer or druid or something, Mousesack I think his name is, and he seems to age like a normal person. So we see him in his 40s or something, and then later on we see him and he's like 60-ish, I think. And that confused the hell out of me too, because he ages normally. But apparently Yennefer does not age at all due to her magic. So why does he age normally, but she doesn't, if they're both, like, magically empowered? Now, someone on Twitter told me that it's because they're different types of magic users, or they didn't go to the same magic school, but that was never made clear in the show. Then we go to Yennefer, who starts as like a 14-year-old girl, something around that age, and then she goes to the magic school for, I think, 2 episodes, where something like 10 or 15 years go by, even though it seemed like a couple of weeks at most. Then she graduates, and in the next episode, she says something like 3 decades have passed since then. And at this point, I still did not realize that she had stopped aging, so I was completely lost. Later on, Geralt and Yennefer's stories start to converge, and I think it's going to get less confusing for a minute, but it doesn't. They meet in episode 5, I think, and then in episode 6, they run into each other again, and they talk about all this history they have now, like, hey, remember that time we hooked up in that place and you were gone when I woke up the next morning? Like, when the hell did that happen? You've had this big on and off relationship for a long time now, but you just met in the last episode, and suddenly you're referencing all this history that the audience was never privy to. Like, how much fucking time has passed this time? I have no idea. So it's never entirely clear where in the timeline everyone is, how much time is passing in each story and in between each episode, or what events and relationships happened in between those episodes that the writers just skipped over. That is confusing. You know, this all took me days to figure out, and I'm still not 100% on a lot of it. You know, those are things they need to work on. You stop with the wonky timeline, and for God's sake, explain things better for people who are not in the know and familiar with the series already. Now, of the cast, we have 3 main characters. Yennefer is probably the best. Well, she's almost certainly the best. Yeah, her storyline has the most substance to it, has the most meat on it, even though it's the biggest victim by far of the timeline jumping all over the place. But I like the actress a lot. I don't know how she rates in comparison to the games. I think they were casting against type, because I think she's a little bit different in the games, which I have not played. But for what she has to do on the show, I thought she was the standout in the cast. In fact, she almost feels like the main character at times. You know, a lot of the time, she gets more screen time than Geralt does, actually. And that might be for the best, since Geralt is not incredibly talkative, and he doesn't emote very much. I mean, he's well cast. Henry Cavill has the physicality down. You know, he looks like Geralt. He's great with the action scenes, but the character itself is very stoic, and he doesn't seem to have many modes beyond that. And again, they don't explain things very well. So I'm still not sure what Witchers are, or what they're created for and all that stuff. All that stuff is still a mystery unless you've read the books and played the games. Those complaints aside, things do improve once Geralt and Yennefer finally meet about halfway through. There's a lot of chemistry between those two, and there was a certain amount of meandering before that happens. Like they're setting the table for a lot of stuff, but we can't serve the food until these two take a seat. And I like their dynamic a lot. They humanize each other nicely, though the timeline does skip over a lot of their relationship for reasons that still elude me. Ciri is the weakest of the three. I think the actress is fine, but her storyline feels like a lot of stalling. Like with Geralt and Yennefer, at least they have stuff to do. Like we're maneuvering them into like a certain place in their lives, but with Ciri, it's pretty much just her walking around and running into people and waiting for Geralt to show up all season. Which means that the entire season is just a setup for season 2. And as I understand it, like the three of them together is kind of like is the dynamic from the games, unless I'm missing something. That's what I heard. And so that's what the show is supposed to be, is the three of them together. But we never really got that. We only got like a hint of it at the very end. And I'm getting a little tired of shows doing this. All season long, characters keep telling Ciri, find Geralt, he's your destiny. And characters keep saying to Geralt, find Ciri, she's your destiny. They say destiny so damn much, you could do a drinking game about it. Every time someone says destiny, take a shot. You'll have alcohol poisoning by mid-season. So the whole thing is a build-up to Geralt finding Ciri, and the second he finds her, the season is over, so we don't get the payoff. I think this will be much improved in season 2, because the whole thrust of the series has been about bringing these three characters together, and that's more or less happened now. Geralt and Ciri are together, and Yennefer is off doing something else, but at least her and Geralt have been running into each other periodically by this point. And season 1 was better when Geralt and Yennefer were together, so if we focus on them more as a unit rather than separately, I think that's going to be a big plus. So, bottom line, I like it. It's not perfect. They need to work on clarifying a lot of things for people who have not played the games or read the books, like me. The show does not do itself any favors in that regard, because the first episode is the worst, and the second episode is the second worst. That's when you should be setting the stage, and those episodes are a bit of a slog to get through at times, so you gotta be a little patient with it. After that, it starts getting better, but you do have to give it time to find its groove. So basically, the story is good, but the storytelling is flawed. But there are a lot of positives. The leads are well cast, the sword fighting is impressive, and the stage is set for a much improved Season 2, where they can focus more on the show's strengths rather than the stuff that didn't work so well this time. And now that everyone is in the present, the wonky timeline should not be an issue anymore, thankfully. But the best part of the show by far is that witch rhymes with bitch. So if you swap out the W with a B and call him a bitcher and say it all dramatic like they do in the show, it actually becomes quite funny. Like, I've heard tales of your kind, bitcher. I am an adult, I promise. I just found that humorous. Anywho, let's see what you guys think of The Witcher. And Neil Childs, thank you for the super chat. $4.99, and that looks like some kind of European currency. I don't know what that is exactly, but thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see, he says, congrats on the 27,000 subscribers, and what's your thoughts on Disney refusing to invite George Lucas to the premiere of Rise of Skywalker? Do we know for a fact that he was not invited, or did he just choose not to show up? Because I could easily see that being the case. Because apparently, they threw out his outline for the sequel trilogy, and then, they supposedly asked him to come in and help with Episode 9, and he did, and then they didn't use any of his ideas again. So I could see him just not being interested. If it's true that they did not invite him, That's pretty fucked up. And considering how they've screwed this guy over so much already, pretty disrespectful if you ask me. I heard that he has been involved in some aspects with the Mandalorian, and that's nice. Kind of gives credence to this idea that Jon Favreau may be taking over Lucasfilm when they get Kathleen out of there. If that would happen, if that happens, I would not complain. It would be nice if George Lucas and Lucasfilm could have some type of relationship, so Lucas could still have some type of involvement in his baby. Because we've seen what Star Wars without George Lucas has turned into, and it's not pretty. Yeah, if he wasn't invited, that's messed up, and there's no excuse for that. If he simply chose not to come, I get it. I understand. But I don't think we know which is which right now. Let's see. Okay. One stream pending and this stream going. For Christ's sake. Yeah, okay, Tom L. Finger. Yeah, I used to live stream a certain way on the old channel, but then I came over here. I was doing like these reviews for a while, and I didn't live stream for a long time. And in that period, they went and changed everything. So now the whole streaming process is completely different. And I knew how to do it before, and now I don't. So now it's I don't know how it's done anymore. I got this stream working, but the other one is pending somehow. I don't know. It's really confusing. And I'm notoriously bad at figuring out new technology. It's a weakness. That's my kryptonite, unfortunately. So I'm very slow to adapt to this type of stuff. I will try to figure it out. By the next time I do one of these things. But for this one, I'm gonna have to make do. Let's see, Rolando G. I like this logo, the ever watchful eye on the stupid crap that studios put out. Yeah, interesting story about this. My logo here, the all-seeing eye right here, that is actually the first thing I ever edited. When I was first learning Adobe Premiere, I needed something to edit. So I went and downloaded, Premiere and Audition and Photoshop. I had nothing to edit, but I wanted something to practice on. So on a whim, I just took a picture of my eye, and I started just screwing around with color correction, and that eventually became my avatar. That was the first thing I ever created in Adobe Premiere. So fun little factoid on that. Let's see. Yeah, sorry to hear about the busted water heater. Yeah, it's fine now. It was just really annoying for like 36 hours having to deal with all that stuff, and a bunch of my towels got ruined because that was the only way I had to soak up all the water. And my floor was a lot dirtier than I thought, and so I just figured screw it. I went out and got more. It's everything's all fixed now, but for a couple hours there, I was kind of stressing out to keep the water from leaking out onto the carpet, which it did a little bit, but I managed to keep it confined to the kitchen for the most part. Let's see, Eric Beck. I enjoyed The Witcher, was just hard at first with the time jumps and different timelines with the different characters. Got used to it. I think the show is awesome. Yeah, 70 to 80% of my complaints are with the timeline because I don't know what is happening and when it's happening and what events in each person's life that we skipped over in between episodes. They really need to explain that better. Okay. Let's see. Same, it threw me off, but I heard the first book in the series, The Last Wish, did the same thing, and it was a collection of short stories. Yeah, I've heard that too. But in a book, it's easier to explain that stuff because you can just say, 3 years had passed since I last saw Yennefer, or whatever. But in the show, they don't do that. It's like, hey, where were you when we slept together in that town? You know, I don't know, what's a Polish town name? Nowheresville. I don't know. Where were you when we hooked up in Nowheresville? We had some great sex, and then the next morning you were gone. Where were you? We never saw that. You just met in the last episode. Where is all this history coming from? How much time has passed? I have so many questions about this. Yeah. Man, you gotta watch the show with a fine-tooth comb and to just to figure out some of these details, because I always felt like I was missing something. So I had to go back and watch things several times. Like, did I miss something, or did they just not explain it? Most of the time they just didn't explain it. And I don't mind. I don't mind using my brain to figure out stuff in a show, but I shouldn't have to do like homework and research and stuff to just like keep everything straight in my head. That's when the writers are just not really doing their jobs. Okay. Damn glad you can cover your expenses with the channel. Happy for you, says Rolando G. Well, I can cover some of the expenses. Right now, I'm covering the rent. There is, and that's just been in the past 2 months. I don't know if that's going to happen every month, but I had a couple good months for the channel, thanks to the big influx I got around October. So that's been very helpful. I am still losing money though, so more work must be done. Only issue is Triss does not have red hair. Says learn, train, play. I'll take your word for it on that. That's not a character I'm familiar with. I guess I gotta watch some videos about the games at least. Somehow you had two live streams, sent the people from the other live stream to here. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. I don't know how I wound up with 2. That is bizarre. Because I scheduled one, and I booted that one up, and then it starts this one, and they make this... Man, time... But before, it was nice and simple. I knew how to do everything. Now, they gotta make it all, like, super complicated. That's why I'm still using YouTube Creator Classic. Because, the new model is just so confusing. I mean, God help you try to unravel that web. God, everything is just so overly detailed. I'm like, guys, why? It was fine the way it was. Let's see. The effects got super cheap near the series end. They were broke. Yeah. I think the worst effect by far was the CG dragon. I mean, that looked like a PlayStation 2 cutscene. That was not good. I think overall, most of the effects were decent enough, I think. The dragon was the only one that really stood out to me. Like, wow, they just ran out of money. First episode was the worst case of editing in the series. Yeah, not gonna argue with that. Yeah. Did you stop reviewing Batwoman? No, I did not. I'm gonna finish season 1. I've come this far, and the Batwoman reviews are easily the biggest source of revenue I get right now. So I'd be stupid to not at least finish season 1. So yeah, I'll finish the season and see where it goes. Yeah, but right now, I mean, they're on Christmas break. So I think new episodes of Batwoman are starting in January. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, when they come back, I'll keep on doing them. Okay. All right. Yes, it reminded me a lot of the games, and it was great. Yeah. Yeah, it was weird what they did with the fight scenes, because at first, when I saw the first episode and they had that long, like, one uninterrupted take scene of the sword fighting, I was like, he's performing this great, it's just, I don't care for the way it's filmed, because, ironically, it seemed too much like a video game to me. And that's why I didn't like it. But then I watched some videos of the game cutscenes, and I saw what they were doing. I was like, oh, that's why it was shot that way. Okay, all right. So maybe I'm just not the audience for this, but I can appreciate what they did because they were playing to the audience of the games with that. Because it looked just like a fight scene from the game cutscene. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So maybe it's just not for me. But even if it isn't for me, I can still appreciate it. So I saw like the effort they were putting in to play to the audience, like the actual audience of this franchise, and I'm not in that audience, so I just didn't get it. So that was one of the cases where I just didn't get it. But I saw what they were doing. So in my mind, I can't really complain about that because I wasn't who that like a scene like that was geared towards. But I see what they were doing. So I'll give them big points for that. Because at least they know their audience. Let's see. And if you hear that noise in the background, that is my fridge. It is extraordinarily loud when it does that, and I often have to unplug it when I do videos because I don't want that noise showing up in the background. Let's see. When they run out of money toward the end, they reuse clips and flashbacks from earlier episodes. Yeah, I noticed that too. So hopefully they can get an increased budget for season 2. I mean, Netflix was quick to renew it for a second season, so clearly they have faith in it. And I think there was enough promise shown in this season that they could finagle a little more money out of Netflix, rather. I mean, Netflix are not shy about spending money. I mean, good lord. I mean, they pump out so much content in a year. I mean, it's mind-boggling. So, I mean, I think they could pump a little bit more money into The Witcher to make it look a little better, so they don't have to stretch those dollars quite so much. Batwoman isn't even worth reviewing anymore, says Sasha Bent. Well, I don't know. I'm still making, a decent amount of cash on those reviews. I mean, I get more money off of those than I do anything else. So financially, it is still worth it. If I want to make rent. And Eric Beck says Eric Beck really liked The Flash and Arrow, and something changed at the CW the last few years, and it shows. Okay. I mean, Arrow was really good in the first 2 seasons, and it was hit and miss after that. Flash, oy. There was a period very early on in The Flash when it could have gone either way. I remember being relatively forgiving of those first couple episodes, at least. Maybe the first half season or so. But after that, I mean, it's been downhill ever since, in my opinion. I mean, by the time they get to the season 1 finale, oh god, that was one of the most offensively terrible episodes of television I have ever seen. And there was no recovering after that. I mean, ugh. Don't even get me started on The Flash. Made me play Witcher 3 again, which gave me more insight into the show. I think one of the cutscenes I watched was from The Witcher 3. He was confronting this woman, this demon who was, I think, disguised as a normal human, and then they have this fight in a barn or something. And I think there were moments from that scene that directly mirrored a fight that he had in one of the episodes. I forget which one, but he was fighting this the demon in the crypt, and he had to fight it until dawn, and then keep it from getting into the crypt, and then to turn it back into a girl, a normal human girl, which was its original form before it was cursed or something. Yeah, the fight scene that I saw, the game cutscene that I saw, rather, directly had moments that directly mirrored that fight scene. Like, wow, Yeah, that's impressive. I really commend them for like going the extra mile, even if they're not directly adapting the games, but going that extra mile to at least mimic and pay homage to moments from the games. Because even I could pick out the moments that they were going for. Let's see. Yeah, Jim Whitehead says, they seem to assume that you read all the books. I was confused also and then said, I don't care anymore. Yeah, you do kind of have to just throw up your hands and just go with it for a while. I think looking back at the entire season in retrospect, I think it's a little easier to pick out where in the timeline everyone is. But when you're watching it for the first time, God help you try to figure it out. It's really confusing. Let's see. Witcher is a superhuman monster hunter that took mutations as a child with a 30% survival rate. Yeah, I think, one of the things, something the season was missing was maybe an episode that actually showed the origin. Because I feel like we're just getting information about Witchers in bits and pieces, and like, why not just do an origin episode? Excuse me. Why not just do an origin episode, you know? I mean, and Geralt is in the past already. I mean, you could have started the season with Geralt's origin. I mean, you go through all these pains to show us Yennefer's origin, but we begin with Geralt more or less fully formed. And it's just... Yeah, they could have taken more pains to tell us who Geralt is and what he's about. Because starting where it is, it's kind of like we're starting in the story halfway through. Yeah, I don't like making this comparison, but it was kind of similar to a Jim Butcher novel. Because the way Butcher writes is he likes to just drop you in the story and then just have you not really explain a whole lot of things, but just have you pick up stuff as he's going along. And that works for him. And I'm not speaking ill of Butcher because I love his stuff. He's one of my favorite authors, actually. But it's a weird way of writing, and you can do that in novels and pull it off, like Butcher does. But in a TV show, it makes for a very awkward viewing experience. What a mess! It's like near the end of Lost, where time travel messed everything up. Oh no! It's not nearly as bad as Lost. Lost was a disaster. Absolute disaster. I mean, with The Witcher, I could eventually figure out kind of what they were doing and what they were going for. With Lost, they weren't going for anything. They were just flying by the seat of their pants after a while with no plan. At least with The Witcher, I think there was a plan. They didn't execute it very well necessarily, but I think there was a plan in place. With Lost, you can tell there was no plan. Absolutely none. I mean, they were just introducing random plot points and new concepts and stuff, and never had any intention of paying them off or explaining them. Like the frozen donkey wheel moves the island to a different place. What the hell is that about? I don't know. Why do babies die on the island? I don't know. And, Lost. Fuck Lost. God damn it. A complete waste of 6 seasons of television. Let's see. I had trouble near the end figuring out which are the flashbacks and what is happening. Yeah. I think the most confusing part is that like different amounts of time pass in each story. And if you want to have Yennefer in the far past and Geralt in the recent past, and then have the two timelines converge, you have to be more specific about when in the timeline everyone is and how much time is passing. Like, you could just say it in captions. Like when we meet Yennefer, you can have a little caption that says 80 years in the past, or something. And then the next episode is like 70 years in the past. And then in the next episode, 50 years in the past. And then we see Geralt, and it's like 12 years in the past. It would be easy. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be the most elegant way to solve this problem, but it would be something. Because you're lacking some basic information here, you know? And this is information that we should not have to figure out. It should be given to us. Let's see. I played the games and love the show, but I guess I wouldn't have much of a clue why he's some kind of beast Jedi. The book's timeline is all over the place. Also, should have put some dates. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Just to give us a couple dates in a caption or at the corner of the screen, just to tell us when everybody is. Let's see. Yeah, the show needs to put a few subtitles in, like 10 years ago, present, stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Had the hardest time following along. It kind of made sense by the end. Yeah. It should make sense at first, though. I remember when episode 4 started, and we see, we go back to the Warrior Queen, and I'm like, wait a minute, didn't she die in the first episode? Wait, is that the same character? But, oh my god, we're in the past. But if we're in the past, then why doesn't she look younger? Because she looked exactly the same age, but she's supposed to be, like, many years younger now, and, that was another problem, because these characters age so inconsistently. Like Yennefer doesn't age, but the Warrior Queen doesn't age either, even though she has no magic. So did they just forget to age her up with makeup or something? God. Destiny is a huge deal in the books, so not surprised. Okay, but again, they shouldn't mention Destiny so much that you can make a drinking game out of it. It's a little too much. I'm getting a little sick of the Chosen One trope. That one thing Game of Thrones Season 8 did well was not fall into that so much, says James Stewart. Yeah, I'm not big on the Chosen One thing either. I liked it in Star Wars. You know, Anakin being the Chosen One to destroy the Sith. Of course, that's not a thing anymore because, well, thanks to the Disney trilogy, Anakin is no longer the Chosen One. Rey is, if you can believe that. But I always kind of preferred stories where someone is not the hero because they're the Chosen One. They're the Chosen One because they're a hero. And so they kind of, if they're the main character or the person to win through in the end, it's because of the choices they make, not because of some predestined plan. So I kind of prefer that. You know, I'm not against a Chosen One story. It just depends on how it's done. Let's see, John Caparso. Witchers are basically magic super soldiers made by wizards to hunt monsters. The monsters aren't native to their world. Basically, there was a magic catastrophe with different dimensions. Okay, that was not made clear at all. Again, okay, this is why they needed an origin episode or a prequel episode or something. I mean, it could have just been. They could have just done this in flashbacks. I mean, just basic information that we were missing. That would have helped so much. Let's see. What's with the Witcher? Let's see. What's with the Witcher spoilers? I'm sorry about that. I should have given a spoiler warning first. Yeah, but it's kind of hard to talk about the show without spoiling at least a few things. Maybe they did it to make us watch it all again, so it makes sense. Possibly, Steven Szymanski. Possibly, but you know what? We should rewatch it because we want to, not because we need to watch it a second time just to understand what's going on. Are we all on the same page about the Dark Crystal deserving a second season? Says Nick Momo. We damn well better be, because if we don't get a second season of Age of Resistance, I will be very upset. Because that show is amazing. Okay. Rey is the chosen one, and she won't let a man take credit for a woman's work. Rey Batwoman. Oh, God. Thankfully, the Batwoman producers did edit out that line from the show. Because, I saw the scene where it was supposed to be. But I don't believe it made the final cut. So they... apparently there was an effort to tone down the anti-male agenda a little bit, at least. I don't think they did a very good job. They could have done a lot more to do that, but... I don't know. Maybe the backlash from the trailers did a few things right. Maybe it accomplished something. God damn it. See, I'm already losing my voice again. Man, I really did not have much voice left after the Crisis Part 2 review. Son of a bitch. Frodo from Lord of the Rings. Well, yeah. I don't believe there was any prophecy in Lord of the Rings, but Frodo was called upon to do a thing, and he did it. And he wasn't prophesized to do it. He did it because it needed to be done, and he was the one who could do the job. Yeah, that to me is more interesting than some. I don't know, some seer who divines the future saying, this person is destined to do this thing, and they are going to do it because I said it must be so, or something. So you basically, by doing that, you're just taking away the character's choice. So, I kind of prefer a narrative where a hero makes the choice to do the thing. Christian Boulard. Any plans for more wrestling videos, mainly AEW? Thank you for the super chat, by the way. No immediate plans to do that. If you guys want to ask me about AEW, go right ahead. No plans to revisit like regular like weekly wrestling reviews right now, because I'm just kind of focused on building this channel up, because this is what hopefully is going to keep me from going into the poorhouse. Because I don't need a lot. My apartment is very small. I don't I don't really have any furniture. I have my chair here. I have one chair that I took from the old house after I moved out, and that's basically it. That's all the furniture I have, and my desk. And but I don't have a ton of expenses. There's regular bills and whatnot, but as long as I can pay my rent and pay my bills, and as long as my car is running, I don't really need much else. So I don't need like a ton of money to get by. As long as I'm not losing money, I'm more or less happy. But I've still got work to do to get to that level. I've gotten to a point where I'm losing money slower than I was, but more work must be done. And this is the channel that's gonna do it. I wasn't making anything off talking about wrestling. So after a while, it kind of felt like I was just kind of spinning my wheels with that. I wanted to try something new that might pay more dividends. I might see more results on, and so far so good. Because on the other channel, I never got past like 3,000 subscribers and change. And after a while, that number was not growing. If anything, it was shrinking. So, you know, it was fun to do as a hobby, but if I want to make it a job, I'm going to have to do, you know, something else. But if you want to ask me about AEW, go ahead. Let's see. Batwoman is still super cringe. Thanks for watching, so I don't have to. You're welcome. I wish I didn't have to. I wish I didn't have to watch it, because I really hate that show. But in a sick way, it is kind of fun to dissect it and just tear it apart. You might not be able to tell that from the reviews, which just seem to get longer and longer, because there's just so much to complain about. But it is, I don't know, I do get a kind of a sick fascination from just explaining in detail all the ways why it's so terrible, you know? Just the way my brain works, apparently. The hobbits as people were sort of prophesized to save the world. Were they? I don't know. I did not get that impression in the movies. Maybe it's that way in the books, but I haven't read the books. I tried to read The Hobbit before. I couldn't get through it. Let's see. Now that I'm playing Witcher 3, the game, the show makes better sense. Yeah, I'd imagine so. Let's see. Neil Childs. Harry Potter was the chosen one too. Yeah, he was. He was. I feel like he made enough choices on his own that they got away with that one. I think J.K. Rowling kind of addressed that at some point in the books. I'm not sure which book it was. I think it was book 6. Don't quote me on that. But basically he made the choice to go to this well, can't talk today. He made the choice to kind of go to this confrontation with Voldemort willingly rather than being dragged to it unwillingly. And that to me was him making the choice of, yeah, I'm going to do this thing because I have to. I'm going to do it because it needs to be done and I'm the one to do it, rather than him doing it only because he was prophesized to do it. And also, I mean, they mention in the series that prophecies are kind of they're not always exactly accurate. And also, Harry could very easily have not been the chosen one. It could have been Neville. So, I mean, there's enough of a gray area there that the whole chosen one thing, you have to take it with a grain of salt. And I think ultimately it was his decision to do this, even though he was the only one who could. But I think she got away with that. John Caparso, I almost don't want Batwoman to get canceled because your reviews are so funny. Almost. Yeah. Yeah. People often say that. They say they get a lot of laughs out of the reviews. I rewatch the reviews sometime. I'm looking for what people are talking about with that, because to me, I don't know if I find them all that funny. I mean, maybe a little bit, but people say, "Oh, I pissed myself laughing at this," or I snorted water out my nose or something. I think, really? Really? Because in my mind, I'm not that funny. So when I see comments like that, I'm always like really surprised. And now I feel like there's a lot of pressure to continue being that funny, and I don't even know how I got that funny in the first place. So it's always a little intimidating when I see comments like that. Okay. Let's see. What is your favorite part of what AEW have been doing? Says Christian Boulard. Favorite part of what they're doing? Let's see. I think I really like the way they do promos. Because WWE, the promos are largely terrible because they're so overly scripted and they're written in such a way where I'm like, nobody talks like this, guys. What the hell are you doing writing dialogue like this? No one has ever talked like this. And it's so stupid because the promos are often so wooden and unnatural, and it just takes you out of the experience completely. But with AEW, you can tell, like, maybe they go out there with bullet points or something, but for the most part, it's the wrestlers' voices. And they're just speaking as themselves. Because, no one's going to know the wrestler's character better than the wrestler themselves. So I know I'm getting the wrestler's real thoughts and opinions here. And it's in their voice, and they sound so much more authentic. And, like Cody Rhodes, when he was cutting the promo on Jericho, when he did the ungoddamn deniable promo, that was one of the best wrestling promos I've seen in years. When was the last time you saw a promo like that in WWE? I mean, they so rarely happen. I mean, sometimes you get a great promo kind of by accident. I mean, you can usually count on, like, Daniel Bryan to deliver a fiery promo, or, a Becky Lynch sometimes, when they're, given the freedom to kind of talk for themselves, but it so rarely happens these days. With AEW, you get really good, entertaining, funny, authentic, genuine promos consistently. I would like there to be more time devoted to promos. But for the most part, I really enjoy the way they handle their talking segments. That to me is such a refreshing change from WWE. Okay. And see, Buffy made some great jokes about prophecies never happening the way you think. The prophecies in Witcher need some misleads too. That's true about Buffy. I remember there was this really good one. I think, God, I forget which season it was. But there was this one prophecy about a demon who no man can defeat, or something like that. Like that was what was said about him. I don't know if it was a prophecy or not, but that's what people were said about him. Like no man-made weapon can defeat him. But the twist was that prophecy was made like at a time when man-made weapons were like swords and clubs and stuff. So what do they do to kill him? How do they stop him? They shoot him with a rocket launcher. I'm like, okay, that's clever. Because that's a man-made weapon now, and the prophecy or whatever it was could not account for how technology would change over the next several hundred or thousand years. So that made sense. That was a cool twist. So, like I said, sometimes prophecies can be like imprecise or interpreted in various ways. So there is some wiggle room with that I wouldn't mind, The Witcher playing around with. Thoughts on the backlash AEW is getting from the Dark Order segment. Okay, well, if you didn't see this, the last AEW Dynamite episode of the season, of the year rather, ended with the Dark Order and all their minions swarming the ring to take out Cody and the Elite, and the segment largely fell flat. And that's a shame because, like, in previous weeks, those Dark Order vignettes had been great and had been doing wonders for this gimmick because, when they showed up originally, when Dynamite started, they didn't really work. They're good wrestlers, but the gimmick was just confusing, it wasn't catching on, so they took a step back, and they did all these vignettes to kind of reintroduce the gimmick, which they probably should have been doing in the beginning anyway. And it was working, and they were catching on, they were getting over, and then they do this, and they kind of set themselves back again. And I think it's a combination of things. One is, I think maybe it was just too soon. I think another, it was too soon for them to go after the Elite. And second is we've got several creepy factions in AEW that are kind of similar to each other. You got the Dark Order, probably should have stopped with them. But then you've got whatever the hell Brandy Rhodes is doing, the Nightmare Collective. It's basically the same gimmick. It's basically the same thing, except the Dark Order do it much better. And then you got the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, who different gimmick, sure, but kind of similar. I mean, I think the Blade does his entrance wearing a mask that's just like the Minions wear. So it's kind of like too much of the same thing, and I think they should have just stopped with the Dark Order. And so you've got this overabundance of similar gimmicks. That's another part of the problem. And also, the attack itself felt very random. Didn't really connect to anything. And plus, that show should have been main evented by Jericho and Jungle Boy. It really should have. And I don't know why it wasn't. You know, I've heard this before, but apparently Chris Jericho is like the one guy on their roster that has not lost viewers to NXT at some point. So he's their biggest ratings draw. Why are you not putting him in the main event? Now, granted, the Dark Order angle may have been bigger, but Jericho is the star. He's the draw right now. And I think they could have put over Jungle Boy much better if they had just ended on that. And my phone just went off. But they didn't. I don't know. It was a combination of things. The angle didn't work, though, with the Dark Order, and reportedly they know it didn't work. So hopefully they take another step back. I mean, there's no need for the Dark Order to feud with the Elite. Yeah, I know those guys are friends with the Elite, so maybe they're going to get pushed a little more than they would otherwise. But this is not that was not necessary. If anything, I think the Best Friends ought to be getting the push up the tag team ranks just because of how much Orange Cassidy has caught on. Because he's got to be one of the most over guys they've got right now. And I mean, who could have seen that coming? I mean, so, anything that gets Orange Cassidy more screen time is going to be good for business. And Steven Szymanski, thank you for the super chat. Just for getting the last name right. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I did. I'm notoriously bad with names. And I actually I had a science teacher in high school. I think it was for biology, maybe. Who had a last name very similar. It was Szymanski. Same last name. So same last name as my science teacher in high school. How about that? But thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Biggest criticism of AEW, says Raven the Red. Biggest criticism. I think my biggest criticism at the moment is those picture-in-a-picture split-screen commercial breaks that they seem to do constantly. And they always do it at the wrong times. Like when WWE do these things, they do it at a time when you're not really missing that much. Like they'll do it at a slow point in the match where someone is like in like a sleeper hold or a headlock or something, and they're down on the mat, and then you go to commercial, and then you come back, and they're just getting out of the hold, so you know you didn't really miss anything important. But when AEW do these split screen segments, it's like it may be during a backstage pre-tape. Or a segment in the ring, like a talking segment in the ring. Like Jericho had some, the Inner Circle had some fun with this. It was either the last episode or the one before it, where they were in a split screen segment, and then Sammy Guevara came out with signs, and him and Jericho held them up, and it said, people have been complaining that they can't hear us during these segments. They had this written on signs. It was actually pretty funny. So they're already poking fun at it. There was another one in the most recent episode, and this one really made me mad. It was right after the Jericho Jungle Boy match. And this is the moment when we should really be focusing on Jungle Boy going 10 minutes with Jericho, and Jericho wanting the extra time and not being able to beat him and just, kind of walking out of the match. We should be really focusing on what an accomplishment this was, and just when we should really be focusing on Jungle Boy and what he just did, we go to split screen commercials so you can't hear what's going on. It was just, oh my god, could you have timed that any worse? Now, apparently they do this to combat NXT or something, but I mean, they gotta time these things better, because it's not helping the show, it's hurting the show. I mean, I don't know if they have much control over when commercials happen, but they gotta format the show better so they coincide with dull moments that we should be seeing. Like, there was one time when they went to split screen commercials when the Rock and Roll Express show up. Like, why would you do that? I mean, people might tune in to see the Rock and Roll Express, and you have their first appearance be during commercials. What are you thinking? Yeah, it's a work in progress. And if you want another criticism, I think there's too much wrestling. I think the wrestling is generally great. It's fast-paced, it's very exciting, but I think they're to an extent, they're still booking it like an indie show instead of a TV show. So they can't survive on just wrestling. They need a variety of things. Now, they've tried to combat this to an extent. We see at least one talking segment per show now, usually, but you need more than that. You need wrestling and in-ring promos and backstage pre-tapes and talking segments and comedic segments. You need to start thinking in terms of television and not wrestling. And I know that's going to be they need to get maybe the Bucks and Kenny and Cody. They need to get their heads out of the wrestling bubble and start thinking in broader terms. Because I still think it still kind of feels like a glorified indie show at times. And it's like, guys, you're in the big leagues now. You need to start acting like it. You need more variety on your show. And I say that as constructively as I can, because for the most part, I've really enjoyed Dynamite so far. But I just want it to be the best it can be. And right now, they still got problems they need to work on. Let's see. Watching people get upset and angry can be funny. Okay, well, I can get upset and angry reviewing Batwoman. That's not a problem. Let's see, Eric Beck. Dude, your Batwoman reviews are hilarious. Just keep being yourself. Your utter contempt and rage towards Batwoman is amazing. I have no shortage of contempt and rage. So thank you. Still not sure how people find it hilarious though. Funny, sure. Hilarious, I don't see it. I don't know. Maybe this is just my. I don't know. Maybe this is just because I don't really get a lot of humor anymore. Maybe that's just how my ass-be-addled brain works now. But I don't find many things funny. So when someone tells me that I'm hilarious, I just how? Really? I don't get it. I think I'm just being myself. I don't see, because I don't really go into those reviews like intending to make a lot of jokes. I just kind of let the hate flow, and it just comes out, and then people say that it's really funny, and I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how I do that, and how to replicate it, Let's see. You are sarcastically funny, says Over Easy Mode. Okay. All right. Frustration is funny, says PR Zendigi. I hope I pronounced that right. Let's see. Neil Childs, there's a few Batwoman fans that are upset with your reviews on Reddit. Could you link me to that? I actually looked for those. is there a subreddit that's discussing my Batwoman reviews? Because if there is, I would genuinely love to read their comments. Because I would love to see how people are reacting to those. Like people who are not seeking me out. Like people who haven't watched but they're talking about the reviews on Reddit. I would love to read those. Because I looked for them a while ago and I couldn't find them. But if you could link me to that page, I would love to check that out. Let's see, Darcy Detman Jr. You're funny because you're serious. Okay. Is it because I get so serious in discussing the problems of a show this stupid? Because that I can understand. Because most reviewers, I think they don't take it that seriously. They just kind of make a joke out of it because the show itself is kind of a joke. To my knowledge, I'm the most. Yeah, I take it the most seriously out of all the reviewers I've seen. So maybe that's the piece of the puzzle I'm missing. Did you listen to John Moxley's episode on Talk is Jericho's as Christian Boulard? Yes, I did. That is a very that is a great interview. WWE scripted promos are why Seth Rollins turned heel again, says Neil Childs. Oh yeah, and he's much better as a heel. But man, that promo where he turned heel officially was so overwritten. That's another example of those crappy promos in WWE, because that promo should have just been like pure anger and emotion. It starts off well enough, people are booing him, and he's like, "What do you people want from me?" All right, okay, here we go. And then he starts reciting this memorized, wooden, unnatural dialogue. He's like, "You people, your anger and your like unappreciation of me has turned your fiction into fact," or something like that. I don't remember the exact wording of it, but like, dude, no one talks like this. What are you had me. Like, what do you want from me? Okay, you're angry. I get that. Just go with it. Let's let the hate flow through you. Just go with that. Just give us pure emotion here and you'll be fine. But then they just give him this terrible dialogue to recite, and by the end of the promo, he lost me. There are talents on the roster that can take a promo like that and find a way to make it work. Daniel Bryan can usually make it work, for example. But man, Seth Rollins, he just does not have that it factor. He does not have the charisma to take a poorly written promo and make it sound good and make it sound natural. He just doesn't have that in him. And they keep trying to make him that guy, but he's just not. Let's see. Jim Whitehead. I hate promos that promise stuff that you don't find in the movie or series because of the budget. Yeah, that's a big pet peeve of mine. When... I mean, well, sometimes it's unavoidable, because a lot of the times they'll make a trailer or a promo using footage that doesn't make the final cut because they're still editing the damn thing. And by the time the movie or the show comes around, like, that clip is long gone. And sometimes that can't be avoided. I understand that. My pet peeve, what really bugs the hell out of me, is when they film stuff directly for the trailer or directly for the promo with no intention of ever putting it in the show or the movie. Okay, now with Batwoman, you can tell, like, with the not about to let a man take credit for a woman's work. Okay, they put that in the trailer, and at some point that was intended to be in the show, but that episode had not been locked yet, obviously, and by the time when it was time for the final cut, they took it out for whatever reason. They were right to do so. But an example of filming something just for the trailer. Oh, I know. The third Narnia movie. They shot a bunch of stuff with all four Pevensey kids, even though the older two, whose names I can't remember. The older two barely appeared in that movie, but they shot extra stuff to make it appear as if they had a much larger role than they did. They didn't. They shot extra scenes with them to make it look like they were in Narnia when they weren't. They just wanted to fool the audience into thinking that all 4 kids were going to be back in Narnia when really it was just the younger 2. So that was sneaky. So when I was watching the movie, I'm like, wait, weren't Edmund and what's her face supposed to be in there? It's like, nope, it was just for the trailer. That is annoying to me. So I hate it when that happens. I mean, in a way I get it, because you're trying to fool the audience. You're trying to get more people to see the movie. It's manipulative. I understand it, but I don't appreciate it. Because if you've got a good movie or a good show, people will find it, usually. And you shouldn't have to resort to manipulative tactics just to get people in the theater, you know? If you have to do that, maybe it's a sign that your movie or your show is not that good. Have you considered alternative tech like DLive? It's easier for people to tip you, says Over Easy Mode. No, I haven't. Honestly, I went with OBS because it was a last-minute thing. Like, I tried to do a stream, and I realized that they changed the whole process, and I had to come up with a new way of streaming very quickly if I wanted to do the stream that night. So I went with OBS because that was the first one that I managed to figure out in time. And I'm still using OBS now. And like I said, I'm very slow to adapt to new technologies. So if DLive is easier to use, I should probably check that out. Not much I can do about it tonight. Let's see. The Save Me one. Ali, Kong, and Britt Baker should be AEW top 3 girls, and they treat them awful. Okay, well, alright, here's the thing with that. I agree with Ali. They have not done much with her. And that is stupid in my opinion, because there was a time when she was one of the most over stars in Impact Wrestling, period. I mean, you would have been hard-pressed to find someone on that roster, on that show, as over as she was. Now, they ruined it later on, but for a while, she was as over as anyone in that company. And I thought, well, they were stupid enough to not renew her contract because they're idiots, and then AEW scoop her up like quick as can be. So I thought, oh, well, they're going to turn her into a big star because she's already pre-packaged and pre-made. So you know how to get her over. She knows how to get herself over. And then what do they do with her? Nothing. She's on AEW Dark for a while, and then she gets her ass kicked by Kong, and then she shows up with a totally new gimmick as a manager for Butcher Blade and the Bunny, and this girl was so popular in Impact. So popular. What are you doing? Why are you not pushing her? Plus, I mean, she's one of the few women you have that an American audience, a mainstream American audience, would be familiar with. Why is she not a more prominent fixture in this division? The same thing with Kong. At least with Kong, the excuse is that she's really beat up. So if she has a small role, if she's not wrestling that much, okay, she's, she can't do a whole lot physically right now. I get that, but you know what? I mean, Kong was very prominent in Impact Wrestling for a long time, and she's like a bona fide TV star, one of the stars of Netflix's Glow, very popular show. So Kong is one of the biggest crossover stars you've got on your whole roster. She should have some kind of bigger role than just being, Brandy Rhodes' lackey. Even if she can't do much physically, you could still find something for her to do. Britt Baker, I think, is not ready. I like Britt Baker. I think she should get there eventually, but right now I think she's still, she's lacking that X factor, and that little extra something. I like her work generally, but she's not operating at 100% yet, and I just think there's more impressive people, more dynamic performers in this division that they could be focusing on right now. Case in point, Chris Statlander. I think Statlander might be a little less experienced than Baker is. I mean, they're both pretty green still, But, Statlander just has that it factor about her. She's got that charisma, even though her gimmick is kind of silly. I mean, not that the Britt Baker's dentist gimmick isn't silly, but I mean, I don't know why she's an alien. I mean, I could do without that gimmick, but I don't even really care, because Statlander is just a compelling person to watch. And it kind of seems like she's the one they want to roll with right now, so that's good. Also, I mean, Shauna's great. Maybe hasn't been exposed to a mainstream audience, at least in America, but she's very well known in Europe. And she's got a pretty big following. I kind of wish they'd do more with her, because she showed up for a few weeks and then they just put her on Dark, and now we barely see her on Dynamite, and that's a shame. Because I mean, she's great in the ring. She looks like $1 million. So, if I'm AEW, I'm putting more focus on Allie, more focus on Shauna, and Kong and Chris Statlander. Even if Kong can't get in the ring, you can do something with her. And, enough with Brandy Rhodes, for crying out loud. Because I don't know what Brandy is doing right now, but I don't think it's working. And the frustrating part is, no one's going to tell her that, because she's the boss's wife. So she's just going to get free reign to do whatever she wants, and as I understand it, she's pretty much running the women's division, or she's one of the people running it. So, she's going to be able to book herself to do whatever she wants, and no one's going to say anything. So, it's a little annoying, because you see everybody, like all the guys in the Elite who are in positions of power in the company, who are in management positions, and they have gone out of their way to not push themselves that hard. They have gone the extra mile to not Jeff Jarrett themselves. Even in some cases where, they probably should be pushing themselves more. Like Kenny Omega. How is Kenny Omega not at the top of the card? But they are working very hard to use the star power that they have to get other people over. Like the Bucks are putting over everybody. John Moxley, Omega put over John Moxley. I mean, he didn't have to do that, but he did, because Moxley was just the right guy to go over, and Omega knew that. But then you've got Brandy Rose, who is booking herself to have the only storyline with any real consistency and direction in the entire women's division. And Brandy is arguably the least talented woman they have. It's just frustrating. So that's another complaint I have about AEW. Fix the damn women's division. And I lost my place. It's an annoying thing about these chat rooms is that they let a whole bunch of comments build up, and then they post them all at once. So now I just lost my place again. Let's see. Okay, here's where I was. AEW needs to do more character work like ECW did. Agreed. I wasn't an ECW guy. I didn't really discover that company until the tail end of it. But yeah, they need to do more character work in general. And also, when they do character stuff, it needs to be on Dynamite, because a lot of the time, when they do a character vignette or a promo or something, they'll put it on Twitter or on Dark or something, and a lot of people will just miss it. Like if this is material necessary to get over a character or get over an angle or a storyline or a promo of some kind, that should be on Dynamite. All the necessary information to understand what's going on should be on Dynamite. And everything else should be supplemental. It can add a little extra garnish to what's going on, but it shouldn't be necessary viewing. Because I feel like a lot of the time I feel like something is happening off screen that I didn't know. Was it on Being the Elite or something? I haven't watched Being the Elite, so I don't know. Was it on Dark? I don't know. Do I need to watch the YouTube show to understand what's happening on the TV show? I don't know. Just give me the information on the main show. And if I fully understand and like what's going on the main show, then I'll be encouraged to check out Dark or Being the Elite or all these all these promos on Twitter or whatever. But if I'm confused about what's going on in the main show, I'm going to be less likely to check out all the supplemental stuff. That's another problem they have. Because they're acting like it's a secret club or something, that you need to kind of hunt down all this extra stuff just to understand everything. And I don't like that. Do you still watch Impact? Says Christian Boulard. I follow what's going on Impact. I went through a period where it was really difficult to follow because they were on the worst possible time slot, on the worst possible day, on a network that was so obscure that you had to watch it on Twitch. And, you know, I mean, sometimes I didn't want to stay home on a Friday night to watch a wrestling show on Twitch. I wanted to go out and do something, you know? And it was, and plus I wasn't even enjoying the product at the time anyway. They were just, not that it was bad necessarily, they were just going in a direction that I didn't really agree with. And in large part, they still are. I mean, I follow what's going on, but I'm not, like, watching it religiously at the moment, because there's just a lot of stuff that I'm not really on board with. I mean, Tessa Blanchard feuding for the world title, I mean, I get it. I guess they're doing this they're doing this for the PR they'll probably get for it, and I understand that. They could really use a publicity stunt, but creatively, I'm not on board with it. I think it devalues the Knockouts title when you've got one woman fighting the men and all the other women are fighting each other. It's like, well, I guess all these other women aren't that good then, you know? And, you know, there's some questionable signings in there. They're still doing they're still trying to make the Desi shit squad happen. It's not going to happen, guys. Let it go. I don't know why they're so obsessed with that gimmick. And, you know, a lot of other stuff, like Rosemary not getting much to do. I mean, maybe your knee is still bothering her, but just find something else for her to do in a non-wrestling capacity. I mean, she's like one of the best characters you've ever had, and she should be a bigger part of the show, and she's just not. And you know, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I still follow Impact, but it's a source of frustration for me at the moment, and I don't know when or if that's going to change. Eric Beck, new video, Thorias reacts to his reviews on Reddit. I don't know, if you guys want to see that, I'd consider making it. If someone can link me to that Reddit thread, I would really like to read that stuff. Lee L. As at Heel vs. Babyface recommended you for Batwoman reviews. Really? I enjoy you both very much. I'd love to see you both collaborate. If he recommended me, that's amazing. Did he do that in a video? Because I would love to watch that, because I really like his Batwoman reviews too. Those are hilarious. Because he makes points that even I hadn't thought of. So I really love his reviews too. So that's very flattering that, you know, someone with an audience as big as his knew about my reviews. So that's amazing. Thank you for pointing that out. If he said that in a video, if he recommended me in a video, please link me to that, because I would love to watch it. Let's see. My name is pronounced Bullard. Bullard. Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm bad with names. I admit that. I'm good with faces, bad with names. Okay, over easy mode. Yes, because you're so serious, we can see your blood boil. Okay, all right. Okay, that's all right. That I understand. All right. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Witchers are monster hunters. Literally, it says it multiple times throughout. Yeah, I get that, Otaku Senpai. I understand that. They're monster hunters. But why? Were they why were they created specifically for that purpose? If so, why and how? You know, there's just basic information. How? Why? When? You know, just general details that are lacking. If a Witcher is a monster hunter, okay, show me how they were created. Show me why they were created. Show me when they were created. It just these are things you need to think about. You can explain all that stuff in a book easily enough, but in a TV show you have to show these things. You show, don't tell. You know. Let's see, Rollins needs a minute. Rollins needs a manager. Probably wouldn't hurt. Anything that gives him less mic time is probably a good thing. Let's see. That's Neil Childs. Isn't Kenny Omega booking the women's division? I think he's involved. He has a say in it. I think that's how Riho ended up as their inaugural champion. But I'm pretty sure Brandy has some kind of input into that. Or at the very least, I'm pretty sure Brandy is booking her own storyline. And like I said, you know, she's the boss's wife, so she's gonna get to do whatever she wants. The way I heard it was that there was some kind of conflict between Brandy and Kenny, like they both want different things. I suspect Brandy is winning out because we haven't seen Riho in a while. I heard she had some dates in Japan or something. That's why she wasn't around. But you know what? If you're not going to have access to her for large stretches of time, don't give her the title. I think like a week or two ago was like the first time we saw Riho since Full Gear, and she was just in the crowd watching a match. You know. So if she's not going to be around, put the title on someone else. You know, I suspect the next champion will be Chris Statlander when they do that title match, and I'm okay with that. You know, she's green, but you know, like she's a compelling wrestler, and I think she's good enough that they can kind of fake it with her, and you know, just put her in the ring with some of the Joshi girls that can kind of guide her through the match. I think Statlander will be fine. Let's see. Cameo Shadowness. Thank you for the super chat. I just wanted to say I love your videos so much. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your viewership very much, and I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Let's see. Do you watch any animated series? Yeah. Yeah, I watch a bunch of anime. There are some cartoons I'm into right now. You know what? I'll just call up my Netflix account right here, and let's see what I've got in there. I can't remember off the top of my head. But, no, that's not what I want. My list. Work, damn it. There it goes. Let's see. Yeah, so I got a bunch of cartoons in here. It's a lot of anime, but you know, I've got the Dragon Prince is very good. Was watching Voltron. That's done now. But I've got a lot of anime in my Netflix list here. Let's see. I've got Knights of Sidonia, Castlevania. Let's see. Sword Art Online. I know that's a very divisive series. I think it's fun to watch. And the soundtrack is great. Let's see. I have Disenchantment. I'm enjoying that. I think season 2 was a big step up. I think the story is more interesting. I'm watching it more for the story than for the comedy right now. Let's see. Love, Death, and Robots. That's a bunch of animated shorts. Ultraman anime, all like computer, like a CG animated cartoon. That one was really good. Let's see. Ingress, another anime. Hero Mask, I like that one a lot. Well, I've got a lot of things in this. Levius, that's a new one. Another CG anime. Really liked that one. And Transformers Prime, first season. That one's still in there. Of course, that one's been over for a long time. And I've also got some anime I'm watching right now. There's a bunch here gotta get caught up on. Fire Force, I kind of fell behind on that one. Let's see. Fate Grand Order. Special Crime Investigation Unit. I've all fallen way behind on those. Legend of the Galactic Heroes, Denoya Tesa, that's a great one. I really like that. And Fairy Gone, I've been watching that one recently, up to episode 10. Really like that one. So yeah, I guess I'm watching a lot of anime right now. So yeah, those are some of the animated shows I like. And I lost my place again. Hold on. Should AEW have a mid-card title? Yeah, I think so. I don't know if they need it immediately, but it would be nice for people like MJF and Darby Allin to have something to fight over. Because right now there's a lot of focus on the world title and arguably even more focus on the tag team titles. And what do those upper mid-card guys get? You know, they need something to... They need like a piece of recognition to fight over. And I think a mid-card title would be good. I don't think they needed it at first, but now that they're starting to establish that upper mid-card range of guys, you could put Hangman Page going for like a TV title, or MJF or Darby Allin, or other people in that range. Jungle Boy, if he's not going for the tag titles at the moment, Luchasaurus, damn it. Give Luchasaurus a title, for crying out loud. And also, guys like Sammy Guevara, and or even Jake Hager, people like that. Yeah, they could use something to fight for too. So I think a mid-card title would help. And I think they're approaching a point where they can introduce it and they'd have a place for it. Thoughts, Neil Childs, thoughts on MJF? For me, he's got shades of Jericho, Candido, and I hope he gets a push by the end of next year. Oh, I think he's getting a big push already. I think it doesn't help that some of at least one of the promos explaining his connection to the Butcher Blade and the Bunny was done on Twitter or something. But I mean, he's in a feud with Cody. It doesn't help that he's not appearing every week. And I think MJF is one of those guys that should be on the show every week. But, they've only got 2 hours, and other people need screen time too. So, I mean, he's in a high-profile feud. I think he could do with a little bit more screen time. After that awesome promo segment with him and Jericho, where, I said to myself, dude, MJF is a made man after that promo. Because not a lot of people in this business could go toe-to-toe with Chris Jericho on the mic. And he did it. And he made it look easy. And he's what, like 22, 23? A guy that young and he's already as good as he is? That guy's a star. They're gonna make money with MJF. So, yeah. Opinion on the Kairi Sane situation. Wow. All right, so at the last pay-per-view, WWE pay-per-view, I think it was TLC, they had a TLC match with the women. It was Charlotte and Becky versus Kairi Sane and Asuka. And at some point early on in the match, Kairi Sane got what appeared to be a concussion. And she kept going in the match, even though it definitely threw the match off, and they had to improvise a whole lot. And apparently Becky was doing what she could to protect Kairi during the match because she knew something was wrong, but also you had Charlotte in there who appeared to lose her temper at some point, And there was one spot where she tried to put Kyrie through a table, and Kyrie was really sandbagging it. I don't know if that was Kyrie being too injured to do the spot properly, or if she just didn't want to do it because she knew she was concussed. Whatever it was, she went through a table when she really shouldn't have. And I guess they made a judgment call to keep the match going. I sort of understand it. If they had taken her out, they might have had to change the finish on the fly, because, I mean, Asuka going over Charlotte and Becky would be a little bit too much to handle, and it would be hard to swallow. But I mean, you got to keep your people safe. Now, supposedly, Kyrie is not injured that badly, and she put out something on Twitter and said, she's okay. They're keeping her out of the ring for right now, so maybe she avoided a serious concussion. But she was definitely knocked loopy at some point in that match. And, I mean, not a lot of people are going to agree on this. Some people are going to say, well, if she feels like she can continue, okay. But clearly Kairi Sane was not okay. Clearly she was not 100% anymore. And they let the match continue. And, I don't know, maybe they should have taken better care of her in the match. Like I said, there are going to be a lot of disagreements on that. I don't have a definitive answer on it one way or another. If Kyrie is okay now after the match, then I guess no harm, no foul. But it's something that they should take. They should pay more attention to in the future if a situation like that comes up again. Okay. Let's see. I posted the link, but it disappeared, says Eric Beck. Maybe YouTube won't let me post it. You could try changing a letter or a word. Like, instead of like a period, put like DOT. You could try that. Or you could just... are you on Twitter? Because you could send me an IM on Twitter. Man, I really do want to check out that subreddit. What did you think about the Clone Wars? Think about Clone Wars. You can say I love the Clone Wars. I was a big fan of the Clone Wars. I actually didn't watch Rebels because I was so salty that they canceled the Clone Wars so they could just introduce this new show, Rebels. I still haven't watched Rebels. And now I kind of don't want to after Freddie Prinze Jr. made such an ass of himself and attacked the fans like he did. By the way, Doomcock's response to that little tirade was awesome. But yeah, I love Clone Wars. I'm so happy that they brought it back, because now they get to finish the story, because they had this big story they were setting up, and I wanted to see what happened to Darth Maul, and I know he showed up in Rebels, and that's I've seen some of that, but I wanted to see. Apparently, he escaped from Palpatine at some point. I want to see that again, and. See, I want to see them wrap up the story the right way, and I'm so happy that they're going to get to do that now. Because, man, Clone Wars was so good. That was such a great show. So, yeah, I'm very happy that it's coming back. I'm not happy that it's going to be on Disney+, because I still don't have Disney+. I'm going to have to reevaluate where I'm at financially and see if I have room in the budget for another streaming service now. Because I feel like I've missed out a lot on The Mandalorian, because I have not seen The Mandalorian yet. And everyone says it's amazing. And so if there's some good Star Wars content out there, I kind of want to see it. After the Disney trilogy turned out the way it did. But if Clone Wars is on Disney Plus, I may have to just bite the bullet and get it. Because all the Marvel shows are going to be on Disney Plus now, and they'll finally have an interconnected TV universe, finally fulfilling that promise that they made with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was never really fulfilled. So yeah, the time may be coming to get Disney Plus. Let's see, Castlevania was awesome, says John Carperso. Writers should take note on how to write not just a strong female character, but a badass wizard who fights on the front lines. Sypha was my favorite character. Yeah, she was great. I love the voice actress, too. Yeah, she was terrific. So she was one of the best characters on the show. And SJWs in the shill media usually don't get this. Like, we have no problem with strong female characters. We just want them to be well written and not shoehorned in for identity politics and shoehorned in to get a mark in the right checklist or to fill some kind of a agenda. If you're just doing them organically and they're well written, good characters, then we don't have a problem with them. I mean, not everything is about sexism. Sometimes it's just not liking a character because the character is bad. Sypha is a good character, so I enjoy her, and I'm looking forward to more Castlevania. I hope the new season comes out soon. Same thing happened to me when I posted the Reddit link. Do you have an email or social media to post it? Yeah, you can post it to my Twitter. I'm at TheRealFK9. It's TheRealFK9. Or you can email me. I'm at Thoriasu. That's THORIASU @gmail.com. Either one is fine. I appreciate you getting me this link, because I really want to check this out. Let's see. Thoughts on Marco's stunt? Little botchy. I like him. I think he's a good addition to Jurassic Express. I don't know if I'd push him too much, but I think a guy like that used appropriately can be a lot of fun. Yeah, obviously, the dude's not going to be a world champion or anything, but, he can be, like, the Lita to Jurassic Express's Hardy Boys, There was a time, back in the Attitude Era, when the Hardys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys were fighting, and, they all got, like, a third person to the act. The Hardys got Lita, Edge and Christian got Rhino, and the Dudleys got Spike. He could be, Marco Stunt, he could be their Spike Dudley. He's not going to be, one of the tag team champions when they inevitably win the belts, but he can come out with them and he can do stuff. He can just add a new dimension to the act. I think in that capacity he works great. Let's see, do you like or hate Joey Janela? I don't really know much about Joey Janela. I haven't seen him that much. So I would like to see him on the show more before I form an opinion. Because right now I just don't know much about him. Christian, will you ever make Bullard? Will you ever make your video ripping the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies? Someday. For those who don't know, kind of the genesis of what I do now, that all began with Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Because like way back in the day when I saw that for the first time, it seemed like everyone loved it, and I was the only one who didn't. Because I was not a fan of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies at all. I actually think all of them are pretty bad. Not just Part 3, but all of them. And I know I'm in the minority on that, but I never liked the tone they went for. It was very goofy and cartoonish. That was my first comment as I walked out of that movie for the first time. It was a cartoon. Because I ran into someone I knew, and he said, "How was the movie?" He says, "It was a cartoon. I just didn't like it." And to me, Sam Raimi was trying to ape the style of the Spider-Man comics he read when he was a kid, but those early comics were made in a different time. And the dialogue was not good, and I didn't really, I'm starting to ramble, but anyway. That was kind of a frustrating time because I felt like I was on an island unto myself where I was the only one who didn't like these movies. And I had all these reasons for it. And much later on, the angry review genre became a thing. And I said to myself, if I ever try to do that, one day I'm going to do a video ripping apart Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And I'm going to do it like, I was going to do it Nostalgia Critic style and all that stuff. Obviously, that's before the whole Channel Awesome thing went down, but I was going to do it angry review style, but I was going to wait until I was at a level where I felt like I could do it justice. I still feel like I'm not there yet. But one day, when I feel like I've leveled up enough as a reviewer to do it the way I think it should be done, I'm gonna review the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and I'm gonna tell people exactly why I think that movie is not good. And so that's kind of where it all started for me. What do you think of Jim Cornette's war with guys like Joey Ryan and AEW? I think Jim Cornette's in no position to throw stones at anybody right now. I think Cornette he could be a very entertaining interview, but he's also a guy who's, I think, very out of touch with modern wrestling. And that's all I kind of care to say about that, because he's kind of a hot button issue right now. So I don't want this to turn into something else. Neil Childs, I recently watched Captain Marvel and I was disappointed with the movie. Brie Larson was awful in the role too, but I got called out on Reddit for not jumping on the Captain Marvel hype. Yeah, you know, when I first saw Captain Marvel, when I first saw the movie, I thought it was mediocre, but that thing does not age well. And the more I've thought about it, the more I felt like I was too nice to it in the review. Because so many aspects of that movie do not hold up. I think I was a little bit guilty of falling prey to the hype of Avengers Endgame. Because that's the only reason why that movie did as well as it did. I mean, it was always going to do well. It was always going to make money because it's a Marvel movie, and the Marvel brand is just bulletproof at this point. At least the movies are concerned. But they positioned Captain Marvel as the lead-in to Avengers Endgame, so everyone flocked to the theaters to see Captain Marvel because they thought they needed to see it to understand something about Avengers Endgame. Turned out they didn't. And the whole follow-up to the tease of Captain Marvel in Infinity War, it was just a brief little thing at the end. They're looking for who Fury was trying to contact with that beeper. Captain Marvel shows up. That's all there is. It's like, wow, thanks a lot. You could have saved me $15. So yeah, that movie does not age well. And I don't know. I'm not surprised that they're dragging their feet on announcing the sequel, because they're not going to have that. They're not going to have the Avengers movies to let her piggyback on anymore. So she's going to have to stand on her own, and that's going to be really, really hard. And honestly, I think the best thing they could do for Captain Marvel, the best thing they could possibly do, is like the next time we see her is when they do the Rogue storyline. Because, I mean, let's be honest, that's the most enduring thing, the most memorable story that Captain Marvel's ever been a part of, really. At least the most memorable one, like, that had a good result. Even if, like, the good result was on Rogue's end. And, I mean, Rogue's the one that really benefited from that story. But you could solve a lot of problems with Captain Marvel by doing Rogue, because once Rogue, like, sucks out a lot of her power, you could, like, depower Carol to a more realistic level to where she's not so OP anymore, and the villains actually stand a chance against her, so she's actually in danger. That was one of the problems with Captain Marvel in those movies, is because she was never in danger at any point. She was never in trouble. I mean, the only time somebody ever really got the better of her was when Thanos punched her with the Power Stone. And even then, I mean, it's not like she was injured or anything. She was just taken off the board for the rest of the fight. But, I mean, if none of the villains who faced this woman can ever, like, match up to her or even stand a chance against her. I mean, how the hell do you make a story out of that? And you can tell they were really struggling to do it in the Captain Marvel movie. Now they're gonna have to do a sequel at some point, and clearly they have no idea how to do it. So I think the best thing they could do is just do Rogue, and that can lead right into Rogue joining the X-Men, and when the X-Men join the MCU, and now you've got Carol, who is depowered to a more reasonable level, and that solves a lot of problems. Sorry, but Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Marvel movie until Avengers came out. Well, it's a Sony movie, not a Marvel movie, but I mean, okay. Like I said, I know I'm in the minority on the Sam Raimi movies. I just don't like them. I don't like the tone they take. I don't like the scripts. I don't think they're good scripts. I don't like the acting in them. I don't like them for a lot of reasons. Other people do. I know Spider-Man 2 is much beloved. I get that. And I'd probably get a lot of downvotes if I did a movie reviewing Marvel Spider-Man 2. But that's just the way I feel. Let's see. Why did the Channel Awesome channel go down as I joined later on the channel? Wait, did the Channel Awesome channel go down, or just the aggregate site? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't watched Channel Awesome in a while, actually, and the whole thing is tainted for me now. Basically, almost all their content producers left because the people running the site were like a bunch of assholes, and there was this whole I don't know. There was this document that went online. With a lot of the producers like detailing the things that happened to them and like the crappy way they were treated by the people who ran the site. It was pretty alarming stuff, actually. So yeah, I can't even watch the Nostalgia Critic anymore because the whole thing just feels dirty to me now, which sucks because I used to love Nostalgia Critic, but yeah, apparently the people who run the site are not such great people, and it's a damn shame because Channel Awesome back in the not all that long ago, Channel Awesome was a great source of entertainment for me, and now you got to follow all those people individually. So not a great situation. Let's see. Save me one. I liked Captain Marvel personally. I really liked the movie. To me, Carol is 2 cups. Steve Rogers from First Avenger, 2 cups Thor from the first movie, 1 cup Elsa from Frozen, and it made over 1.1 billion. Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can thank Avengers Endgame for that. I respectfully disagree on your opinion of Carol. I think Carol is nowhere near as humble or likable or charismatic as Steve Rogers from the first Avenger. Nowhere near that. 2 cups Thor from his first movie. I mean, in power levels, maybe. Elsa from Frozen, I don't know where you get that. Elsa was likable. To me, Carol is not. Carol is stiff and wooden and has no charisma and has way more power than she needs. And it just makes for a boring character. No one would have said a peep about Captain Marvel if the MCU had said Brie Larson doesn't speak for them. I think they would. I think Marvel could have saved face a little bit if they'd said that. Okay. Let's see, Jim Cornette has an eye for talent but can't book a show to fit nowadays audience. Just look at the state he created with ROH. Yep, he's he just doesn't have any. He doesn't have modern sensibilities for wrestling anymore. Always worth an entertaining interview though. Excuse me. And I'm losing my voice again. Damn it. That can't happen. Gonna have to record another long video this week, so I gotta save my voice if I can help it. I don't hate Brie Larson, but the attitude she and the feminists have when you don't like Captain America is a joke, as movies like Kill Bill, Alien, Terminator have strong female leads. Those are some of my favorite movies of all time. I love the original Alien. That is a classic. To this day, I still think that is one of the most terrifying movies ever made. Kill Bill, that's another one of my favorites. Terminator, not one of my favorites, but the first two are classics, and I still love them. So, I mean, and I could go on. Yeah, two of my favorite anime, Bubblegum Crisis, Ghost in the Shell, female leads. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, female, men, it's not as simple as just men being sexist assholes, if I can pronounce that correctly, and just hating women for the sake of hating women. Not that simple. It's just men not liking bad characters that happen to be female. As long as the character is well written and created for the right reasons, then it's fine. And it can lead to great things. Ripley, Sarah Connor, The Bride, The Night Sabers, Major Kusanagi, great characters in great movies and shows, Let's see. The only issue I have with Spider-Man 2 is the comedy can be quite stiff. True. I would argue that Spider-Man needed more comedy because Spider-Man is supposed to be funny, and I don't know if he cracks a single joke in that movie. But, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man didn't make a lot of jokes. He cried a lot. He didn't make a lot of jokes. It's one of the reasons why I like Tom Holland's Spider-Man so much, is because his Spider-Man actually is funny, like Spider-Man is supposed to be. Oops, I meant Captain Marvel, not America. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that makes more sense. Silent Mr. 25. Hello, everyone. First time here. What do you think about Rey in Star Wars? Oi. Okay, I liked Rey in The Force Awakens. I defended her when people called her a Mary Sue, and now I regret doing so. I think the character had potential in the first movie, and that potential was very largely unrealized and wasted and twisted around and turned into something else. And by the time The Last Jedi came around, you really couldn't argue that she wasn't a Mary Sue anymore. She was 150% Mary Sue at that point. I mean, with The Force Awakens, I thought there were going to be explanations for all that stuff. I thought there was going to be a reason for why she was good at everything. I thought they were going to reveal that she was like a former student of Luke's who had all her memories and Jedi training like erased to protect her or something. And all her skills, like how she was good at everything, so like without even trying, that was her Jedi training, like kind of like re-emerging in her mind. And like her previously trained instincts from her Force training kicking in without her realizing it. I thought it was going to be something like that, but no, it was just she's just great at everything because she's a woman and she's a Mary Sue, and she can't struggle for anything because that's sexist. And then it just got worse in episode 9. And now she's one of the biggest Mary Sues in the history of movies, and I don't think that can be argued or debated at all at this point, and that's a shame because I like Daisy Ridley, and I genuinely did like the character in The Force Awakens, but they ruined it. Okay. Life with Matthew. It says a lot about Hollywood's attitude toward women that the only way writers know how to make them smarter or stronger is to make men dumber and weaker. Yeah, you do get a lot of that. Um, I think it's more, yeah. I think a change is coming with that because you see a lot of these movies that try to push that pro-female agenda, and like so many of them are flopping now. There was that one, I forget the name of it. It was, I think it was based on a comic book. You had Melissa McCarthy in there, and it was like The Kitchen, I think. We had four women whose husbands are like mob bosses or something, and they all go to jail, so the women take over the mob or something like that. Yeah, that movie tanked. Uh, there was that one, I think Charlize Theron, Margot Robbie, and who else was in it? Was it Nicole Kidman? Something like that. Yeah, that also was pushing there some kind of agenda. That tanked. Then you had the one they did like a female reboot of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I think, with Anne Hathaway, Rebel Wilson. That tanked. Then there was Ghostbusters 2016. That lost a crazy amount of money. So all these like female agenda driven narratives have been failing, and eventually Hollywood is going to get the picture. Eventually, enough people in Hollywood are going to realize that, you know what, these movies that are pushing all these identity politics, like none of them are making any money. And money talks more than anything in Hollywood. So money will eventually win out over politics, and the pushback will be too much, and they'll stop trying to push their politics into everything. Might not happen, in 2020, but eventually it'll happen. Because these studios and these producers, they're going to get tired of losing money on this stuff. But right now, identity politics are the big thing. That's the big fad. And people in I think in TV producers seem to be having a bit more success with it, but yeah, movies, it's not going to work. And eventually this will pass, and the next fad will come along that people will become obsessed with. We just have to wait it out. Let's see. Hold on. All right. Oh, wait, here it is. From Eric Beck. Here's the Reddit thread. Does the link work? Oh, here it is. Thank you so much for sending me this. Okay. Let's see. Am I up to date on the chat room? Let's see. Neil Childs. I liked Rey in The Force Awakens, but she became overpowered, one-dimensional character in the Disney trilogy besides Rose. I find it funny that people compare her to Leia. Oh, please. She's not even in the same stratosphere as Leia. Let's see. Do you think Dark Phoenix can be adapted into a movie, or does it need a trilogy to be done justice? Life with Matthew. I'll tell you what they should do with Dark Phoenix, if they want to do it in the MCU. They should make Dark Phoenix the new Thanos. Okay, they could seriously do a whole phase just on X-Men stories. They could do all the spin-offs. They could do X-Factor, X-Force, New Mutants. Like, do like several phases of X-Men movies. And have Dark Phoenix be the ultimate big bad, like Thanos was for the Avengers. And I mean, build up to it over years. Why not take like 10 years and build up to it the way they built up to Infinity War? And then do like the huge, awesome, like massive payoff, like with Endgame, and have Dark Phoenix be for the X-Men what Thanos was for the Avengers. That's what they should do if they were so inclined to do it. And I'm not sure they would, because we've had 2 Dark Phoenix movies and both have been pretty crap. So now like the Dark Phoenix name is kind of tainted for moviegoers now, but if Marvel were going to do it, that's how they should do it. Okay. All right. Okay, let's Let's check out this Reddit thread. Okay. Let's see. This is posted by someone called, oh, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Let's see. I don't understand one thing, and I hope someone will explain it to me. As you know, Batwoman is heavily criticized. This is not an amazing production, but certainly doesn't deserve the hate it gets. I think the show is pretty decent. Oh, boy. Now my question arises. Why such channels as John Talks or Thorias Unlimited, they continue to put videos on YouTube and criticize the show? It's rather not normal criticism, but mixing this series with shit. If they don't like it, okay, I get it. They have the right to opinion. But if they don't like it, why are they adding more videos like that? Because this is another person who doesn't seem to understand that we make money doing these videos. By such people, many people have not even watched the first episode and will insult this series just because somebody thinks it's shit. No, they'll insult this series because the promos and the marketing campaign were god-awful and laden with identity politics, and the show just looked like a massive cringe volcano. They'll insult it on that basis. And they'll probably insult it more if they actually watch the show. Hate gets them views, which gets them money. All right. That person understands. Hate gets them views is despicable. Screw you, Mr. Darcy1813. This is legitimate criticism. This is not hate. Or maybe it's a little bit of hate. The same reason Geeks and Gamers has over 200 videos hating on Brie Larson, views and money. Okay. Mr. Darcy. John Talks and Thorias Unlimited need to be banned from YouTube altogether. They're nothing but a bunch of haters who have got nothing better to do in their spare time, and Thorias Unlimited, he's just a hate freak, and the worst of the lot, that guy needs to be reported and banned from YouTube completely. I am sick and tired of that sad-ass whelp. Okay, Commander L3 says, reported and banned for what? What rules has he broken? Yeah, exactly. I think my criticism of this show is pretty legitimate. I don't think any criticism I've leveled at that show is unreasonable. And, yeah, totally, anyone whose opinion doesn't align with mine should be silenced. Let's see, it's easy to understand once you understand the agendas of those channels. What agendas? That we like to make money? My agenda is I need to make rent, and a lot of people watch these videos, so I continue to make them. So I can make money. So I can live. Because people need money to live. That is my only agenda. If I have another agenda, it's that I don't like bad TV shows. And Batwoman is certainly that. An easy answer is for the views or they're shitbirds. You cater your content to a certain audience, but then you also have people who swear that this show is the best thing out there. Trying to find non-biased or objective views on some TV shows is hard. I don't know. I think my reviews are pretty objective, don't you? I mean, seriously. I mean, if there's any criticism that I've leveled at Batwoman that is unreasonable, by all means, point it out to me. Because I think they've all been pretty reasonable up to this point. Their rant and such is really entertaining to me. Most of the time I agree with them, and sometimes they go a bit far with criticism, but other than that, it's hilarious. You can understand how they feel about it and always give me two sides. To sum up, it's for entertainment and views, and I'm okay with that. Okay. D-Tech Jack seems to have his head screwed on straight. Let's see. Channels in YouTube do stuff for clicks. If you make content that you think will sell to your viewers and don't care about selling out, then you make that content plain and simple. I watch some of the YouTubers and have never heard of either of them, so we'll have to check them out now. So he hears a bunch of people complaining about me, and John Talks and whatever, and he says, "Oh, you're saying how shit their videos are? Well, I have to see this." As for why the show gets so much criticism, a lot of fans saw the trailer and make up their minds before ever watching any of it, and haven't watched it since to see if it's what the trailer showed them. Or in my case, I watched the trailers and I thought the trailers were terrible and chose not to weigh in on it until I watched the actual show. And then I watched the actual show, and the actual show was indeed terrible. And only then did I weigh in on it. And I think that's pretty fair, because a lot of people were asking me to weigh in on it just based on the trailers, and I thought, I'll pick my moment. So I waited. And I waited until I watched the show, and only then did I criticize it. And I think that's fair. Personally, I trashed the trailer hard, thought the show would be a disaster this past week. I thought it had the best episode of the Arrowverse. It's far from great, but it's good enough. I will still watch it. Okay, agree to disagree. Let's see. Well, maybe it will give them views. I can tell you this right now. People want to know what do they, YouTubers, think about it. People tend to criticize something if they don't like it, you know. And just 2 questions. First, did you watch any of the critic videos? And what did you think about them if you did? And second question is if you elaborate on why is the show decent. You know, on the rare occasions when Batwoman does something that I like, I'll point it out. You know, the most recent review, when she kept the kryptonite. I said, okay, that's smart. I agree with this. That is something Bruce would have done. I like that part. See, when they do, on the very rare occasions when I see something I like, I will make note of it. It's just that so rarely happens. That's the problem. 99 times out of 100, the show is complete garbage. But in that 1 time out of 100 when they do something I like, I'll give them credit for it. The same reason I like watching movies like Birdemic, it's fun to laugh at. Okay, thank you so much for showing me this. This is awesome. To continue with this thread link. All right, you know what? I'll read the rest of that later. But thank you so much for the link. Yoink. Okay. All right, where was I? That's hilarious. They wanted to ban me from YouTube. Ban me for what? I haven't broken any rules. Why, because I don't like a TV show? Dude, I go out of my way, a lot further than other YouTubers do, to comply with the rules around here. I bleep out all my bad words. Okay, sometimes I miss one, but I bleep out all the F-bombs. I don't attack anybody. All I do is criticize a TV show, and they want me banned for that. Yeah, because to hell with freedom of speech, right? Oy. People need to get thicker skin. Jesus Christ. The feminists are strong on Reddit. You're not kidding, dude. Silent Mr. 25. I watch it all. DC, Marvel, Star Wars, etc. Batwoman is the worst show I had watched. Wow. And some of those shows are pretty damn bad. Mostly the DC shows. Not all of them, though. DC has some amazing cartoons. Their animated division is, by and large, terrific. But if Greg Berlanti you got Greg Berlanti producing a live-action show, that's a sign to steer clear of it. Here's the woman-hating agenda these types of people try to claim just because Batwoman is garbage. Eric Beck, you've even complimented some scenes in Batwoman when you thought they were good. I know, right? Like, if they do something good, I'll point it out. Like, I've even said, look, I like Alice. I mean, she overacts like nothing. She overacts like crazy, but she's entertaining to watch. And she's got more personality than Kate does. So when Alice is on the screen, I'm at least paying attention. And I've said that I like Mary. I mean, the character is kind of, but I mean, I think the actress is good. I think she's just not given good material most of the time. I've even said, Mary deserves better than what she gets. I don't know what these people want. Okay, your thoughts. All right, Geo J Calix. Calix. I'm a little dyslexic. Excuse me if I got that wrong. Your thoughts on the Alien prequels? Oh boy. I think there are some good ideas in there, but the scripts fall apart in the execution. Like there are the bones of a good narrative are in there, but execution wise they're not done well. And also I think this is a story that just did not need to be told, because part of what made the aliens, the xenomorphs, so awesome was the mystery about them. You start explaining what they are, and suddenly they're a lot less interesting. Like, did we really need to know what the space jockey was? Did we really need to get all the backstory on that? Or was it more fun to just use your imagination when you see that corpse in the spaceship in the original Alien? Because the answers were never going to be as compelling as the questions, you know? But now they try to answer all those questions with the prequels, and they're just not done well. I mean, when they start taking their helmets off on the alien planet, that's when you know that the intelligence has gone out of this franchise. I mean, guys, just because it's breathable doesn't mean it's safe. For crying out loud. I mean, you could be breathing in anything right now, and sure enough, I mean, stupidity like that is what gets these people killed. And then you see them making the same damn mistakes in Covenant. It's really frustrating because, I mean, Alien prequels, they could have worked. I mean, you had Ridley Scott directing again. But, I mean, once they got Damon Lindelof to write Prometheus, I mean, it was all over. God, how does that guy keep getting work? I don't understand that. I mean, I like aspects of the Alien prequels, but overall, it's just another case of, bad execution ruining a franchise. Recently got Batman the Animated Series for Christmas, and you can't wait to watch that again. Oh boy, that is going to eat up so many hours of your life, dude. But that will be time well spent. That is a classic, amazing cartoon. I have the entire series on DVD. That is a great, great, great show. We were so spoiled back in the 90s for cartoons. Batman the Animated Series, and then Superman the Animated Series, and X-Men. The X-Men cartoon, one of the best theme songs of all time. And, oh, God, that show was so great. That show was ahead of its time so much. Man, I rewatched a bunch of the episodes not that long ago. Man, it holds up great. I mean, the animation is dated as hell now, but, I mean, wow. That was such an amazing show. Alien Resurrection is the worst one and such a waste of talent of Weaver and Ryder. Yeah, Resurrection is not good. I think it was relatively inoffensive until like until I don't know, maybe like halfway through. I mean, once the hybrid shows up, I mean, it's all over. But I mean, it was tolerable up until that point. But yeah, that is not a good movie. Let's see. Thoughts on the DCAU as a whole? Are we including like all the cartoons in that, or just Batman, Superman, Justice League? Because those are all fantastic. I haven't seen. I haven't seen all of them. I haven't seen Justice League Action, just because. I haven't seen Brave and the Bold either. Just they were a little too cartoony for my taste. But I love Young Justice. Love it. Outside the new season was great. I'm looking forward to the next one. But yeah, I mean, the DCAU is more often than not a great mark of quality because they so rarely have a bad project. Even if there are ones that don't appeal to me personally, they're usually like critically just like very high quality stuff. So yeah, DCAU. I mean, no complaints from me, dude. As someone who has been here since the old channel, I think you are strong in your opinion, but always respectful to those who disagree and treat their opinion as just as valued. Hey, thank you. I try to be. Because I mean, there's so many people out there who get so offended at the smallest things. Like if you have an opinion that's different from theirs, it's like suddenly you're worse than Hitler. That's pretty much the entire Tumblr community. I mean, God help you if you use a tag wrong. Like if you have a negative opinion on something and you use the tag, it's like get your hate out of the tag. It's Christ, guys. All I did was voice an opinion. If you don't agree with it, fine. Just it's not the end of the world. God, people are so sensitive these days. God, it's like that all over. Like so many people need thicker skin. And I try to be. I try to be as open-minded as I can. I don't always succeed, but if somebody disagrees with me, that's fine. I mean, they got a right to their opinion. If there was this guy on Twitter. This was like a couple months ago, but he sent a tweet to myself and Az from Heel vs. Babyface, a couple other people, because he was looking for people who did reviews of Batwoman, and he said, I'm working on a video that will attempt to defend Batwoman because I enjoy the show, and he just asked our opinion, and yes, asking for the opinion of people like me and Az, who do very negative reviews of the show and just wanted our input on something, and Az he answered the guy's questions, I answered the guy's questions. If he wants to defend Batwoman, that's fine. It's his opinion. But he asked us for he asked us some questions. We both answered, and that was it. I watched his video. I watched it all the way through. I didn't agree with the points he made, but hey, I watched it. I gave him a shot, and that's fine. If he likes Batwoman, if he wants to defend it, okay, go ahead. You're not hurting my feelings. We are allowed. We're human beings. We're allowed to have different opinions on things. And I regret that things get so contentious between people who disagree on stuff. And it didn't used to be that way. I mean, people have been disagreeing on politics, for forever. That's never going to change. But I mean, just because we don't agree on a movie or a TV show, that doesn't make somebody a bad person. It doesn't make them a Nazi. It doesn't make them a sexist or a racist or whatever. But, I mean, those words get thrown around so much these days just because someone has a difference of opinion, and it's ridiculous. So I mean, hey, if someone is in the chat room, right now, if one of these people likes Batwoman, if one of them thinks it's a good show, you know what? That's your prerogative. I disagree, but you got a right to your opinion, and that's fine. I'm not going to criticize you for that. I mean, I may vehemently disagree with it, but I'm not going to criticize you. I'm not going to insult you, because we all got a right to our own opinion. Just allow me the same courtesy, and we'll get along fine. Let's see. Also, the Harley Quinn story in the animated series destroys the DCEU version. I do not doubt that. Yeah, I remember the Harley origin episode from Batman, the animated series. Great episode. I mean, they barely touched upon it in the movies. It was just done in flashbacks in Suicide Squad. And really, I mean, you could have done a whole movie about this. And we're just getting it in brief flashbacks. in Suicide Squad in a movie in which Joker is not even a main character, not even the villain like he should have been. God, that was... I mean, I like the Suicide Squad movie more than I dislike it, but that movie's got a lot of problems. Okay. Mad Love was awesome. It got so much right about how abusive relationships are. Yeah. A friend of Mike, doesn't like Joker, which is fine, but it's a great movie. Everything is subjective. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I've said this. I mean, this is not the version of the Joker that I prefer. It's not to my taste. In my mind, this did not feel like the Joker. I mean, the director, Todd Phillips, has even come out and basically said, yeah, it doesn't have to be the Joker. It could just be a guy who inspired the Joker. Well, was it the Joker or not? Because if it's not the Joker, then what did you make here? You know? So they basically confirmed this is not the Joker. It's an Elseworld story is what it is, and that's fine. And it is a great film. And I can acknowledge that even if it's not the kind of the presentation or the portrayal of the Joker that I wanted to see. You know, I can still acknowledge that it's a great movie. See, I think people tried to diss Joker by saying it was Taxi Driver. I'm sorry, it has elements from Taxi, but are you going to say that Harry Potter is a bad movie because it shares elements from Lord of the Rings or Star Wars? You know, if you want to call Harry Potter a bad movie, there are plenty of things about those movies that you can criticize. There are plenty of things that you can pick apart. You can say that they got certain characters wrong. You can criticize the way it treated Ron Weasley, how they just really crapped all over that character, how they completely made the trio completely unbalanced. They elevated Hermione to a status way above what she should have been. So basically making it the Harry and Hermione show, or in some cases just the Hermione show, with Ron as like a distant third, when really it should be Harry out in front with the two sidekicks as his seconds. But no, they put Harry and Hermione out in front, and then Ron was just like way in the back. And I really did not like the way those movies treated that character, because that was my favorite character in the books. And they took away all his best moments in the books and either just cut them out of the movies or gave them to Hermione. And man, it really felt like those movies were shipping Harry and Hermione together so hard because, you know, Dan Radcliffe and Emma Watson looked good together, and the only reason it ended up being Ron and Hermione in the relationship was because the books said that's what needs to happen. Because if it wasn't in the books, and you know that they were kind of dragged kicking and screaming into putting that relationship on screen, because you could tell they didn't want to go there. You could tell they wanted to make it Harry and Hermione, because they were putting in all these new Harry and Hermione moments that weren't in the books and giving them this different type of relationship, making them closer than they were in the books, and, you know, writing in new moments and new scenes and giving them this kind of flirty banter back in... It's like none of this was in the books. You are making this up. You are trying to manufacture a relationship that does not exist. They were friends in the books, yes, but Harry, a lot of the time, found Hermione very annoying. That is in the text of the books. He was always closer with Ron, and Hermione was closer with Ron. They were both closer with Ron than they were with each other. That dynamic is completely lost in the movies. They elevated Hermione so much. Don't get me started. I have issues with those movies. Yeah, that could be a whole separate video on its own. Let's see. Want a good Suicide Squad movie? Watch Assault on Arkham. I have not seen Assault on Arkham. It's on the list, but I have not seen it. Snape was so underused until Half-Blood Prince, but Alan Rickman was just untouchable in that role. I actually thought they didn't do him justice in Half-Blood Prince, because a lot of his, I don't know. mean, Snape really kind of got the short end of the stick in those movies. I mean, I understand it. Those are huge. Those are not easy books to adapt, and some stuff had to go. But they could have done. They could have serviced Snape's character a lot better than they did. I do want to hope more comic or animated Joker is focused in the second movie. Alan Rickman gave Snape more credit than the movies did. Yeah, they really did. They really did. I mean, almost all of Snape's backstory in Half-Blood Prince got cut. We saw him getting bullied by James. That was it. I mean, all the stuff with, all the stuff with him and Lily, that got cut. And, like, why? Why? That directly informs stuff that happens in in Part 7. Why would you cut that? I mean, Harry dwells on the Snape backstory, Snape being bullied by James. Harry dwells on that for all of like 3 seconds. It was like the whole thing felt like an afterthought. Like, we're including this because we have to. We're giving you the bare minimum of this story because we have to. And yeah, they really messed those movies up. I literally clapped when I heard that line in the Joker. It made the entire movie as reliable a story as the story he told Harley. It was a great moment for me. Man, love. You're making me want to rewatch Batman the Animated Series now. We saw him getting bullied in the Order of the Phoenix. Yeah. I got these mixed up. Oh, yeah, we saw the flashback of him getting bullied by James in Order of the Phoenix. So, I got the movies mixed up, but still, we barely see it. It goes by so quickly, and Harry doesn't dwell on it at all, and it never comes up again. It's like there's a whole story there that was neglected. It was really annoying. But I have a lot of issues with those movies. Not really the time to get into it now. So if nobody else has any more questions, we can think about wrapping this up. Because I kind of got to save my voice because, there's another lengthy video that I'm going to try to make this week, and I need to kind of rest my vocal cords for that because I've never completely recovered from Crisis Part 2 review. I guess we can cut it there. And I have, according to, YouTube is telling me that I'm now at 26.9 when I was at 27,000 earlier today. So I lost 100 subs, which I guess is better, than Doomcock losing 5,000 or something. But, multiple channels are getting hit with that. All right. Couple more questions here. Eric Beck, are you excited for the next Dresden book, Peace Talks, and would you like seeing those books adapted properly into a show or a movie? Yeah. It's been a long wait for the next Dresden book. I think Jim Butcher was having some personal issues. I think he went through a divorce, and he moved to a new place or something. And that sucks because he's usually pretty regular with his publishing. I mean, usually you can count on a new Dresden book like every year or so. I mean, he can crank one of those things out in a couple months. And I do really like the Dresden books. I'm excited for it. I don't know when I'll have time to read it because I don't do much reading these days. But I would like seeing a proper Dresden Files adaptation because that is a property that is ripe to be adapted because there's tons of material there, and I didn't hate the short-lived sci-fi show. I didn't hate it. I thought it had some good elements to it. Wasn't the kind of adaptation I wanted, but it could have been worse. But I would like to see them take another stab at a Dresden Files show. I think that could be done pretty easily. And I heard someone new had acquired the rights and was working on a new adaptation, so maybe that'll happen. Or they could adapt it into movies. I mean, they've got enough books. They could they could do Dresden Files movies for years. There's tons of material, and he's still writing more. So I would like to see that. Have a good night. I think you're really awesome. Thank you, Ace Payne. Thank you very much. The Save Me One. Can Star Wars do the Marvel thing and have 3 standalone movies and then bring them together with Rey for Episode 10? With Rey, I doubt it. Daisy Ridley has been pretty firm in her stance that she's done with Star Wars now. She doesn't want to do any more. But could Star Wars do something similar to that, like what Marvel did? I think they could if Kevin Feige was holding the reins, but with Kathleen Kennedy in charge, no, it's not going to happen. I think she has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that she is not the person to manage a franchise. I mean, just look at the mess that she made of the Disney trilogy, and look at Solo, look at Rogue One. I mean, Rogue One turned out okay, and the final product was good. But the movie definitely has problems, and the production was a mess. They had to call in, Tony Gilroy to save the movie and reshoot tons of it. I mean, so she has completely shit the bed in terms of managing the franchise, and I don't even want to. I don't even want to think about what the results would be if she tried to. If she tried to take the creative realms of a new continuous multi-film narrative. I mean, she tried it once, it didn't work at all. Let's not go there again. If Feige comes in and he gets a creative power, then maybe they could try it. But or even if even Favreau and Filoni. There's talk about Favreau and Filoni kind of taking control of Lucasfilm. If that happens, good, sure, go ahead, try it. You couldn't do a worse job you couldn't do a worse job than Kathleen Kennedy. So maybe they could try it in the future, but not until Kathleen is out of there. James Matthews, forgive me if you've addressed this already. I got here late. What are your thoughts on Amazon's The Expanse? I have not seen the new season because again, it's another streaming service that I don't really want to pay for. My Netflix subscription is the one luxury I allow myself. And I don't want to pay for any more streaming services. Again, I'm going to reassess where I'm at financially in a little while and see if I can afford any more. So I have not seen the new season, the most recent one of The Expanse, but I have seen the first 3, and that is a great, great, great show. It makes me want to read the books. I have not read the books. I've flipped through a couple of them. But, yeah. The Expanse, fantastic show. One of the best shows on television, even though it is no longer on television. It's intelligently written. The production values are mind-blowing. I think this show knows how to do strong female characters the way they should be done. Because they have great female characters. None of them are annoying. They all have their own personalities and characters and character flaws and failings, and if you prick them they bleed, but they're all great in their own way, and it does it right. There's no identity politics. They're just focusing on making a good show and telling a good story, and they exceed fantastically. Great show. I can't recommend The Expanse enough. How do you feel about Lord of the Rings being turned into a TV show? Well, as I understand it, they're not going to be adapting Lord of the Rings. They're going to be just telling a story in Middle Earth, thousands of years before the events of Lord of the Rings. Which kind of sucks, because if there's a format to tell, the entirety of the Lord of the Rings story and not have to cut anything out to fit a movie's runtime, I mean, this would be the format to do it in. And apparently Amazon is just going to be throwing money at this show, so they're going to have a huge budget. So it's kind of a shame that they're not going to be adapting the books. I'm interested to see it, but if it's all going to be in the past, well, I mean, there's no shortage of material there, I guess, but I'm still kind of a shame that they're not doing the books. Disney stated that any other Star Wars movie has nothing to do with Disney, and the 3 sequels would never have been linked to the GL films. Says Forbidden Ruin. Nothing to do with Disney? I didn't hear that. What I heard was that they were done with trilogies, which hopefully means that the Rian Johnson trilogy is kaput. Fingers crossed on that. But yeah, the way I heard it was they were going to be focusing on standalone movies now. And, that's fine. Favorite Star Wars movie? Either Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. I don't know if I could pick and choose. I think Return of the Jedi has the more satisfying payoff, I think. But I don't know, I'm kind of biased towards Empire, just for the reasons. If you saw my video about my relationship with Star Wars, you know what those reasons are. But I don't know if I could choose between them. But I love them. I love them both, and the original and Episode 4 too. I mean, that's up there. But for me, Empire and Jedi are kind of in a class by themselves. Forbidden Ruin. Someone said to a website that 7, 8, and 9 were Disney adaptations of their views of what Star Wars should be. I think that phrases it better. Yeah. I think a more succinct version would be that 7, 8, and 9 are fan fiction. It's pretty much what Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers is calling it now. And, if only we could officially write the Disney trilogy off as fan fiction so we could decanonize it, that would be great. That would be great. But yeah, I mean, it's Disney's... It's not like true Star Wars, it's Disney's version of Star Wars, and that's what Star Wars is going to be now, unfortunately, and nothing we can do about that. Kathleen Kennedy said they will Lieutenant Colonel Tanya von Degurchaff. I'm butchering that name. I'm sorry. Kathleen Kennedy said they will not be making trilogies. Then Iger immediately came out and said they might make trilogies in the future. Well, yeah, that's just another example of Iger, of how Kathleen Kennedy has been removed from power. I mean, she's still a figurehead because they can't outright get rid of her because of they're scared of the bad PR. But there's enough information out there to suggest that Iger is kind of running the show now, and Kathleen Kennedy really doesn't have much of a say in anything that goes on. And Iger flat out said the buck stops with him when it comes to Star Wars. So if Iger says it, then that's what I believe. I got flack on Reddit for hating Luke's character arc in The Last Jedi. Really? People criticized you for that? God damn it. I hate The Last Jedi so much. I hate it. I hate what it does to Luke. I hate what it does to Luke, to Luke and Vader's story. I hate it. I'm with you on that one. That is going to be a source of contention for fans for a long time. Red Hood 7832. Sorry if I'm late, but I'm scared that Disney and Kevin Feige want Brie Larson to be cast as Ahsoka Tano. I know that's an old rumor, but I still don't want that to happen. Oy. There have been... Yeah, that's out there. I mean, the voice actress from the Clone Wars, I think took a picture with Brie Larson at some point, and that kind of stoked that fire a little bit. And then Brie Larson was saying something on social media like Star Wars, and then there were rumors that Kevin Feige wanted to do something with Brie Larson when he made his Star Wars movie. So I mean, right now nothing is right now it's all like speculation, and I would hate Boy, God, I would hate if they cast Brie Larson as Ahsoka. That's horrible casting, first of all. She does not fit that character whatsoever. But I mean, more than anything else, I mean, Ahsoka's a great character, and she's a likable character, and Brie Larson is such an unlikable person. I don't want to see her ruin Ahsoka. I mean, I would prefer they just leave it alone, like not make Ahsoka, like put Ahsoka in the movies at all if they were going to cast Brie Larson. Just keep her in the Clone Wars. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, she's great in the Clone Wars. I mean, you had a little cameo from her voice actress in Rise of Skywalker. That was enough. We don't need to put Brie Larson in there as Ahsoka. My worst nightmare is Kathleen Kennedy taking over for The Mandalorian and changing directors. Yeah, I think there's very little chance of that happening. Now, they're trying to get Kathleen out of there. They don't want to give her more responsibility. I got criticized on Reddit for not understanding Luke's character had to change for whatever reason. Maybe if Luke didn't abandon his Jedi training to save his friends and save his father. Wait, that's what they said? They said you didn't understand how his character had to change? That's bullshit. That's the whole criticism, is that his character was changed so much that he didn't feel like Luke anymore. Like his character was changed so much that he was acting out of character. That's the whole problem. It's like he was acting out of character in that movie. He was acting in ways that Luke Skywalker would never act. That is not Luke Skywalker in that movie. Even Mark Hamill said so. Mark Hamill said he completely disagreed with everything that happened to Luke, that everything that Luke did in that movie. He said it didn't feel like the same character anymore. That's why he nicknamed him like Jake Skywalker, because it felt like a totally new character. It felt like a different character. It didn't feel like Luke. That was the problem. It wasn't Luke. That was not who Luke Skywalker is. It was disingenuous and disrespectful to the character. And it just baffles me that people continue to defend that movie and what it does to Luke. It baffles me to this day. On your screenshot, no one says, on your screenshot, are you wearing green eyeliner and blue eyelashes? No, that's all color correction. No, I was not wearing makeup of any kind. That's all me. That's all natural. I just rejiggered it with in Adobe Premiere. All color correction, and unfortunately, I wish I remembered how I did it, because I can't duplicate this now. Okay, let's see. Mark Hamill gives me too many impressions. He's against changes but supports changes. It's confusing for his stance. Well, I think what he means is that he supports changes when the changes make sense. The problem with the changes to Luke in The Last Jedi is that the changes did not make sense. And they felt disingenuous and disrespectful to the character. And I think that's where he's coming from. And you know what, guys? I think we're going to end it there, because I'm really starting to lose my voice here. And I have to record a lengthy video in the next day or two. So I got to kind of rest my vocal cords. So I don't want to end up losing my voice again. Because, when the shows start coming back and I have to do Batwoman reviews weekly again, I have to kind of be prepared for that. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'm sorry there was that confusion in the beginning with the streams. I'm going to try to figure that out. I'm sorry the title of this video says that I'm reviewing Dragon Prince Season 3. That must be confusing for some of you. I will have to fix that once the video gets processed. I have to retitle that. But yeah, for the record, this was a review of The Witcher Season 3. And also a little bit of a celebration for hitting 27,000 subscribers, even though YouTube currently says that I have 26.9 thousand. It was 27,000 as recently as a few hours ago, but apparently I lost a few. Because YouTube is a bit of a shit show right now. But at least I only lost 100, and other people have lost a lot more than that recently. So this is why I always say make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube likes to unsubscribe people for no reason whatsoever. So as long as you guys are here in the chat room, or if you're watching this video right now, please check that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, please do so. And if you have subscribed already, make sure you're still subscribed, because you might have been unsubscribed without your knowledge. So that'll be it for me. Yeah, Forbidden Ruin sees 26.9. It was 27. It was 27K a few hours ago. So hopefully that'll get sorted out and we can get back to 27,000. But I'm calling it 27,000 for 2019. And that is so much more than I ever thought I would get this year. And yeah, that's I think that's a pretty good number. Like I said, the goal was just to get monetized, and then the goal was 20,000, and then the goal was 25,000, and we ended the year with 27,000. And that's all thanks to you guys. It's because of you that I'm starting to make money with this channel, and it's not enough to live on yet, but it's enough to pay some bills. And so I'm not making money yet, but I'm losing money slower. And that's a good building block. And hopefully we can continue laying those bricks. And maybe by this time next year, I'll be able to say that I'm actually making money with this, or at least getting by with it. That'd be great. That was always the goal. So once again, thank you so much for everybody. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following me on Twitter. Thank you for just supporting me. You're all awesome, wonderful people. Even if some of you don't agree with me, that's cool. We can all have different opinions on things, and we can still get along, I think. So once again, thank you everybody so much. And we're gonna try to grow this thing even more in 2020. And I have goals for that, but I'm gonna keep them to myself just for right now. But I'll let you know when the time is right. Again, thank you so much one more time. I will try to do more live streams in the future, and when I do, I'm gonna try to figure this thing out so there's less confusion. And there's only like one stream going on. We don't have to bring people over from another one that never got started. I don't know what that's about. I'm going to have to work on it. OBS is confusing. So here's to less confusion next time. I will see you guys very soon. I got a new review that I'm going to start either tonight or tomorrow. I got to watch something first. But you guys will get a new video very soon. Until then... Over. Out.